Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 638, Marvel's Defenders of the Status Quo. And that's a pretty typical topic. We talk about Marvel films all the time on here, but not for your most typical YouTuber, that being the pop culture detective. And he has gotten in popularity for the last time we called him, last time we watched him, which must have been at least 8 months to a year ago. I can't remember. But if someone knows, can go through our logs and find it.
Wasn't it on that Princess Leia video or some shit?
I
think it was that.
It reminded me of something to do with the Mary Sue he was probably talking about, but I don't recall.
Or the robot one. Maybe it was the robot.
Oh.
It feels much longer ago.
Yeah, it feels very long ago. This is around COVID, probably. But it's always a trip. And in case you don't know who we're talking about, it's Jonathan McIntosh. So it's what you're getting into. And I was talking about prior to the stream that you could just go into the comments of these videos and see who these people are, or who these people are watching these videos with, that what they're saying and how their mentality is. So I don't know what we're going to get out of this, because he could say a series of things. We talk about Marvel going woke, and now he's going to be attacking Marvel, I suppose.
For not being woke enough, or what?
It's a good question. Maybe there's certain aspects of Marvel films.
And I'm back.
Sorry?
we could also watch his other video called The Ethics of Looking.
Oh.
What the hell's the ethics of looking?
Is that the male gaze or the male gaze?
Probably.
Oh.
Definitely not the female gaze, because it's not a problem when women just objectify men. Like there's that one scene in that one Marvel movie where Captain America pulls apart a tree stump. Like, nah, that's fine.
The fact that in Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor stripped bare naked.
Yeah,
but that's fine.
I think that's a little bit for everybody.
Like his other video called Stalking for Love, that features men watching women through looking glasses.
Geez, this is sounding very much like Renegade Cut, like these titles. But he's actually... They both have zero energy. They're just so drab and dead on the inside. And yet they have everything. They have all these scripts to say. I'm like, are these made by robots now? Or do they have any passion behind or creativity behind what they're doing?
That must be an antidepressants.
Oh.
Antidepressants kill emotions.
Okay. Well, we're not going to be waiting for our other panelists, but they might pop in or not, but we will say hello. Anyway, thanks, LitDev, for popping on. It's been a while. And
yeah, thanks for having me on.
I know Marvel Comics and Marvel fandom is part of your bag. So thank you so much for getting in there, even though I know it's not your focus, but you know comics more than most of us, so I do appreciate you popping on. Oh, boy. So here we go. I hope we're all on the watch together. I hope all our volume's checking out, and you can see the screen as much as I do, so we're not jumping around. Oh, he's got subtitles. Look at that. Nice guy. Okay. Oh, French, English, Japanese. Let's go for English. Okay. Here we go. 22.
Detective.
22.
Japanese scares me.
22 minutes.
I feel like we're going in the time capsule, really like time machine here. This guy is a Gamergate villain. It's
Gamergate villain. Jesus Christ!
Isn't he the rooster that bred Anita Sarkeesian?
Yeah, he's the Palpatine to her Darth Vader. It's kind of like we're just one of those things, and they even fought each other, which is kind of interesting.
I wish I saw that. That would have been awesome. Anyway.
Yeah, because she threw him away after she used him for her comeuppance.
Because McIntosh is soft and useless and weak. That's because that's his whole brand, being a soft, useless, very, very defenseless man. As Jordan Peterson said, if you are a weak man, you are not a moral man. You cannot be both weak and moral as a man.
Yeah, but that's what he wants all men to be, because that's what he thinks the good man is. And that is the man that will immediately be chewed up and spat out by narcissistic, abusive women like Sarkeesian.
Well, the thing is, if you have no choice but to follow the rules, that's not a choice. It's not a moral choice. You have no choice but to do that. So it's not really a moral reasoning. You're just being forced into it. That's not a morality thing.
Yeah, but you can always tell yourself that you're a good boy now.
I'm a good man because I'm helpless.
You do all the things that the people who tell you that when you do them, you're a good boy.
Yeah.
Tell you. That's how it works.
Don't worry, McIntosh. It's not easy to become sane.
It's not easy to understand economics or social programs or how we spend our money and how we fix the economy. No, just keep doing what you're doing. You're fine. Everything's great.
It's not easy to break the conditioning.
Oh God.
Exactly. The conditioning of society and how they've told you that men have to be masculine.
You know, it's kind of funny. I was listening to that Sam Cedar interview with PBT, and he is almost reminiscent of the mentality of my prime minister. Like, you ask a question and you get this giant response that does not even come close to the question. It is like their brains are in this other plane of thought. You're like, can you just ask how we're going to spend enough money to fit the deficit within the budget? Like, how is that?
Well, is he also always in costume?
I don't know. I do know he thought he was a better spiritual leader than Jordan Peterson, which I thought was hilarious.
Spiritual leader.
Yeah.
But the absolute dodge babble of politicians on that level, that is so extreme that I am surprised people are not insulted by it.
Well, Sam Cedar was previously the only guy known for being somewhat popular because he did the surprise guest with was that crazy Ethan Klein? No, Ethan Ralph? I can't remember his name.
One of the Ethans.
One of the Ethan guy, the disgusting one, who was supposed to have
How little that narrows it down.
I know. They're all gross. He was supposed to have a debate with the comedian, the guy who does Mug Club. What's his name again?
Oh, Steven Crowder.
Crowder.
And he pulled a switcheroo, and he put Sam Cedar on, and everyone was just laughing their ass off because it was Sam Cedar. So I thought, that's his only claim to fame. So now he's known for going on PBT and sounding like a moron. So that's always nice. Anyway, let's get back to our other popular online socialist, Mr. Jonathan McIntosh.
One of the many.
Life in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would be an absolute nightmare for the average person living on planet Earth.
That's true so far, yeah.
I would already contest that. It's only bad if you're in a big city. It's rare that your little village blows up.
Well, if you got Iron Man protecting you from the world and all the other superheroes doing the same, I think you're pretty safe, actually.
Just existing, to me, in the Marvel universe would be terrifying because look at all the things that just exist. I don't even talk about like the bad guys. I'm talking about like there's the dimensions and the Norse gods are real. Like all this.
You move out of the line. You're melted from this reality.
Oh, that's another issue. Yeah, the bad Marvel.
At any point in time, it could just be killed by something,
right?
Taken over by something,
compared
or erased
to
from reality.
Compared to like The Boys, which is actually the brutal, realistic version of what superheroes would be like. This is like Marvel is the happy version, but then you have the bad Marvel stories where the world gets destroyed or taken over or what have you.
Yeah. Maybe you started an uprising, or maybe you were just late for work. Either way, you started an international war.
Marvel, what have you become? I don't know.
Had better nightmares.
And not just because of the super beings flying around causing near extinction level events practically every other week. This is a universe where very little social progress can ever really be made.
Really?
Here it is.
Social progress?
Here it is. Here's the McIntosh part.
How did we get from like apocalypse level scenarios every week to, well, there's no social progress?
Not social progress.
The fuck is social progress?
I thought the problem right now was entire eradication of humanity, and you can die any second to random bullshit.
Little different standards when your head's going to get blown off tomorrow, and it's like, we don't have any $2.99 pizzas anymore. It's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I recommend anyone making these complaints to move to the Balkans or, I don't know, Pakistan or something.
Oh,
Everyone, half the population just disappeared.
Right. Yeah, that was no big deal.
Is McIntosh one of those guys that thinks Thanos is right?
I think so, yes.
It seemed like he would be.
Why would you think they portrayed these, what were they called? The flag crashers? as somehow positive, and we must try to understand their point of view when they are nothing but squatters who are upset that the people who died are back and just want their places back. Just like the people who survived the Holocaust or managed to flee from Auschwitz, tried to get to their homes, and now other people lived there and had all their stuff.
I just remember the quote from Fallout, there's too many people, not enough resources, that's why we had war. And Thanos is like, well, there's not enough people because there's not enough resources, so let's just cut everything in half. It's like, dude, that is the dumbest logic over.
You have the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, you could just do whatever.
And he never had a single lesson in ecology, which you could have had in high school biology.
Yeah,
that just tells you, well, if you cut a population in half now, well, it just regenerates. It just comes back. It
goes back. It's kind of like, hedging the bushes. It grows back. You have to keep doing it.
Yeah, we had the Haber process, I think, over 100 years ago that solved all the cultivation of over farming our land. It's like Thanos, we figured this out chemically. We just need to grow the crops. We're fine. We don't need to kill people to survive. We're good.
Why not just snap his fingers and double the resources or something?
Well, that wouldn't do. That would also be just a temporary measure. But what he did was cut population in the universe in half once and then destroy the stones. The second move is the dumb one.
Yeah.
If he just had done the first one and thought, this is just my burden that every once in a while I just have to kill half the universe.
It's like the Reapers.
That would still be insane, but it would be a consistent solution that is dumb, but kind of does what he wants.
Well,
but just doing it once and then destroying the stones that's just dumb.
Well, Lal, you mentioned the Reapers. Their stupidity is circular logic, so I don't know if that's even worse, but it's up there. So.
Well, they're made of circuits. Of course, they use circular logic.
The whole thing is like every million years, people find out AI is a thing. And find out that giving toaster life is a bad idea, and go, okay, maybe it's time to wipe you out, give somebody else a chance.
Well, no, the logic is the toasters were going to kill you, so we're going to turn you into toasters first. It's like, what?
Okay, I missed that part.
No, because before you get too powerful to kill the toasters that you created, we are going to toast you.
You're going to turn to us, and we're going to be awesome. It's like what? No. Anyway, here's Legacy. Thanks, Legacy. Don't get me started with the MCU TVA no free will. What's TVA?
Okay, that is what I was referencing with the Continental War, is that the multiverse, according to the Loki TV show, started with Loki as, what was his face called? Khan?
Some retcon character that they it's an amalgamation of other ideas from Marvel, and then they turned it into this lame guy.
Kang, that was the guy.
Okay.
Kang. So this black guy has kept an eye on the timeline, made sure that all the events that take place in the MCU is according to the golden timeline, as in what is supposed to happen, meaning any actions that a character takes was already preordained by Kang.
Oh, that's scary.
And any character that steps out of line, as I said, if you're late to work when you're supposed to show up, you get vaporized.
And that was supposed to be the joke. Laugh, everyone. You're getting melted if you're late.
Oh, okay.
And the world you were ripped from is going to be wiped out by a giant tentacle monster that's going to eat everyone that's left behind because you have compromised the golden timeline.
Oh.
Yeah, and that means he can evaporate anyone and anything, including Thanos. If Thanos did his whole stupid plot wrong, then Thanos gets melted.
Really? That's.
If he got shot in the head, who was it that hit him in the head? Was it Captain America or Hulk?
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If any of them had actually hit him in the head, they would immediately been snapped out of existence, and that converging timeline, like with all the successful heroes, would have been immediately wiped out, according to Loki.
Yeah, guys, but social progress is much more important than.
Look. That is why Doctor Strange chose this really, really stupid timeline plan in order to succeed. Because he looked at all the other things that made sense that would have worked, but Kang didn't allow it, so he had to do the stupid thing.
Anyway, let's get back to Jonathan McIntosh and his wonderful take.
Hey,
So stupid.
while the heroes do usually manage to roll back the various apocalypses, they don't use their superpowers to help build a better world.
You don't know that.
They instead spend...
So
Do
this
they
is
not?
already wrong. That is already wrong because that's just the things that in a comic book you have more room, so you show more of the boring frames, the social frames, let's say, but you still don't show what's between the frames,
Well,
and that's usually the boring stuff like getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, eating breakfast, reading the newspaper.
well, we have the basis of the X-Men, which is based off a philanthropist, I guess you can call Xavier. Does he get subsidies? Is his own fortune? He makes a school for kids with these unique individuals which are ostracized by society. Sounds familiar, huh? And he tries to teach them and give them a life, have them get jobs, have them integrate into society, which is pretty much the basis of Marvel. Growing up as a teenager with these weird abilities that you don't quite understand. So
Yeah.
that seems pretty. I mean, Stan was pretty smart in what he was doing there.
Oh yeah, he's really good. I mean, they wanted to make him out to be this guy who was pushing social causes and political stuff in his comic. He was never that guy. He was the guy who wanted to sell comic books. That was the guy. That's why he made so many characters. That's why he put social issues in there, not to push an idea, but because it gave the story more weight. It gave the story more substance. Like it'd be more. Other people will look at the stories and go, "Oh, yeah, I know that. That's interesting." They'll get more interested in the comic books to buy it. Every single thing Stan wanted to do, every single decision he pretty much made was made out of morals, but was mainly made out of a need and want to sell comic books. That was his job. That's what he wanted to do.
Plus, we had
Also, I want to point out that Black Widow, for one, is a spy. And she's an assassin type of thing. Like, would Jonathan McIntosh really think that if someone assassinated Hitler, that would not make a world a better place? That's what she does. That's her job. She kills bad guys.
Her social contribution is that she's a strong woman.
It's a strong woman. Yeah.
well,
She just needs to become black because gingers aren't okay.
Oh, that's the flip side. It's not good enough, right? But at least the SHIELD organization was trying to stop Hydra and other forces against. Was it the world or just America? I don't know.
The literal neo-Nazis.
Yeah, so they
No,
were
wait, the actual Nazis.
so they
not
were
even
doing
neo-Nazis.
they were doing really cool stuff, and Jonathan is concerned. Well, why aren't they making enough schools? Well, they are, but just not to the context of every organization which in the Marvel universe is making a school. We have again the X-Men. So what exactly does Jonathan want here? And
Yeah, but it's worse than that, and Chad already points that out. Black Panther, as misguided as his targets may be, at the end of the movie, he was setting up social help centers in the United States of all places,
Right.
instead of helping to build up Africa.
right.
But he did do social contribution, and Tony Stark went philanthropist after realizing, just blowing everything up is not the only good thing in life.
Then you had Thor. Is it Thor Ragnarok that he got all his people out of his blowing up country and found a new place?
Yeah, but that's selfish and nationalistic,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's all white people. Well, they added some black people in the Asgardians, but technically that's Nordic culture, white supremacy. That's bad, and it's also focused inward. That's not good. They need to sacrifice all their stuff outward. They need to uplift all the poor non-white people.
Okay.
Also, wasn't it a plot point in Homecoming that SHIELD and Tony Stark, by extent, was funding the whole rebuilding New York after the whole business in 2012 for the first Avengers movie?
Oh,
Where
really?
you got the alien craft being... didn't you watch Homecoming?
Not Homecoming. I haven't seen that yet.
All right.
I did see it, but I don't remember that part.
There's a specific scene that establishes that there's a bunch of alien shit stuck around the place, and that private companies are showing up to get rid of it. And they are finding all kinds of interesting technologies, and SHIELD essentially shows up going, fuck off.
Mm-hmm.
This is already paid for, this isn't something you should be handling. Implying that this is all, like, the repairs and everything has already
Well, then
been paid for and
McIntosh
repaired.
would make the argument, they're not actually doing it to help people. That's just a side effect. They're actually just doing it to enrich themselves with the super technology.
Exactly.
Well,
It's
but
like,
I think isn't his argument like there's no social change or whatever, but that's assuming that the world they're living in is this horrific oppressive system. Like, what if they're protecting a system that is very equal, everything's fine? Because there's Iron Man, Tony Stark, his best friend is a black guy, and he has no oppression, no trouble. At least not until they made the TV series. But until like in the movies, there's no that discrimination as far as we see. There's none of that. It seemed like a really good, fair, just society.
The leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a black guy with one eye.
Well, the fact that some of these guys are cleaning up the streets sounds like a pretty good social program after a big catastrophe event happens to New York or what have you. So I don't know exactly what he wants. We have examples of these people getting involved with their cities or societies or their communities. So it's not unheard of. It doesn't sell as many tickets when you don't have like aliens attacking Earth or whatever action.
I think fighting back an alien incursion is it may not bring social progress, but it certainly prevents social collapse.
Okay. Also, something I just realized: doesn't Civil War entirely make the entire videos point mute? Just that entire movie was about bringing on social change and how heroes don't just get a free stamp anymore.
Good point.
Okay.
Defending the status quo.
Yeah, we stay alive. Woohoo!
You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change.
The villains are the ones who are constantly dreaming up audacious schemes to reshape established institutions or transform the entire universe.
Yeah,
to be evil.
Yeah, do you notice who you are arguing for?
Like,
people who want to kill humanity.
Is this argument really just social change needs to happen, whether it's good or evil?
Did he watch Doctor Strange? Mads Mikkelsen was kind of trying to summon Dormammu to destroy the planet.
Yeah, I think this is a reveal where he doesn't realize that he's saying the quiet part out loud of his political ideology. Because what does happen when his ideology gets power and starts wanting to reshape the world?
Well, what's the story behind Killmonger? He wanted to change the culture of Wakanda to accept what, outside help, or
he wanted to conquer the world.
Oh shit!
Yes,
really?
he wanted to arm all the black people so that it could overthrow all the white people.
Oh,
straight up.
Every time we talk about social change from the point of villains or from the point of socialists like McIntosh, it ends in millions of dead people.
Straight up, Killmonger starts out his story with, I want to be the rightful king, for I deserve to be king. I'm strongest and you killed my father. Now prepare to die. Then once he has the throne, he goes, alright, it's time to arm all the black people with all the big technology, because we're gonna kill them all. All the people in power, yes, and their children too if they resist. Kill them all.
Nice. Great hero. That wasn't he supposed to be an anti-villain or something like that? Like people can look up to?
That's how he was marketed.
Yeah. Okay. Jeez. Well,
he was marketed as the black supremacist to black supremacists. It worked.
People love that movie. Anyway, that's fine. They can like whatever film they like. Here's Legacy for the $4.99. Thank you, sir. The government blamed the 2012 and Winter Soldier event on the Avengers on one of the accords in Civil War. Okay.
Good point. Oh, we're full house now.
Yep. Let's keep going. We're a minute in, and I'm curious where I want some good example because he's really selling this. Whoa, but they don't help out the community. It's like really okay.
The better alternative is world destruction.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure that saving the world is pretty high up there with with social change and everything.
Yeah. I guess
the ability to preserve, so the ability to have a chance for social change. Because if we are all dead, we can't socially change.
Yeah, this is kind of
exactly.
like the UN peacekeepers to defend against whatever onslaught comes in whatever part of the world, and then while they're there, build a church or rebuild a school or something. It's like, what do you want? Do you want them to like revitalize your entire community, like dig ditches and get the water going again and repair all your houses?
Reinvent humanity into the new man.
I kind of think what ruined the Marvel movies sort of was like the cool idea of Iron Man making a mistake and making Ultron, and then the next movie he gets repercussions for that because some lady's son died because he was there or something. Okay, cool. That is nice consequences, repercussions, and then from they kind of took that all these activists took that moment. And they never let it go. Like now, every single hero has to constantly be a failure, has to constantly do all these horrible things, and has to constantly be like accountable for whatever they do. It's kind of killed fun for a while.
It's because the guy that died is black.
I mean, it was just a guy that died, and it's like it was the way it was presented initially was very cool. Like, okay, interesting. They have a new dynamic, and Iron Man did make a mistake. He did make Ultron, and Ultron was born out of his arrogance, and that resulted in a lot of bad things happening, and he feels guilty about that. But then we have this idea of okay, he made a mistake. Because in that scenario, Tony Stark made a direct mistake. He's like, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to make Ultron. He's going to defend the world from things that we can't defend ourselves from, or if in case we die, there'd be Ultron there to protect us. Now, with what followed was the idea of heroes getting right, like in their view, rightfully suffering repercussions for like failing to save somebody, or they did something which resulted in something, which resulted in something, which resulted in something, which resulted in something terrible happening. Like it doesn't have to be direct anymore. It's not like I did this bad thing and therefore I'm getting repercussions for it. Now it's I'm doing the good thing, I'm doing the right thing, but I didn't save everyone. Like I saved 9 out of 10 people, and so the writing must then continue with he must suffer for failing to save the 10th person. It became that rather than what happened with Iron Man.
It's black and white thinking. If it's not perfection, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've seen. That's the if the hero isn't exactly perfect on all ends, on all fronts, and isn't this pristine in every which way from every side and every angle, then he's a failure and must feel the consequences, pain, and guilt from that one tiny minuscule failure. As opposed to what heroes used to suffer was I did something directly bad, like I murdered somebody in a fit of rage or something like that, or lobotomized somebody, whatever it is.
It's beginning to sound like the argument toward not a Mary Sue per se, but like that sort of scenario where you want your hero to be everything, and if they don't do everything, if they don't also, wipe your feet while they're saving you and put you down on the ground with a new pair of shoes because it got blown off in the big it's like, well, you just ruined my day. It's like, no,
exactly.
Yeah, it's all the result of full blown narcissism. That's why they want full on Mary Sue heroes. They want full on Mary Sue self inserts, and even if they are in the story as self inserts, not as the hero characters, they still are Mary Sues that are beloved by everyone and that the hero loves. And
it's kind of like the Incredibles. Incredibles where he saves the guy and he's trying to commit suicide and he gets sued. It's kind of like that.
Yeah,
like how dare you save his life? And then, but the thing is, that's written as stupid in that movie. Like, why would he do that? It's dumb. But in like the current era, it's like, how dare you? You should have asked his consent to save his life. Something like that. It'll be some nonsense like that. They'll be in the wrong.
Yeah.
No.
There's a relatively famous comic that I know for a fact leftists loved back in the day, and I can only imagine that the ones that would start reading it now would hate it because it's nuanced and relatively neutral. And I'm sure you know it, LiteratureDevil. It's Transmetropolitan. Have you read that one?
I know that one.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. The main character is the ultimate investigative journalist, and I don't remember him ever doing community service or anything. What he does is he writes articles. He does go out in the field. He does lead people around, sure. But in the end, what he does is write articles. And he has millions. He is rich as fuck. He got away from society in his bunker home out in nature with auto turrets and everything. Because he just wanted to write his book. And then he got back into the city and he hated it.
I think McIntosh would really enjoy like the Adam West Batman, because he's kind of like that. Like he has every skill imaginable to just counter everyone, to keep everyone safe and stuff. And he also apparently talks to people about safety driving and goes to volunteers everywhere. Like Adam West Batman is where he wants to go. Like that's where he wants. This is the hero he wants to look at.
Oh, does McIntosh want a PSA every 5 minutes?
Apparently,
Please,
yeah.
God, please no.
I
I mean,
that's
Adam West Batman, by the way, is one where they had to let a bad guy go because Batman was drunk and Robin didn't have his driver's license.
Oh,
I'll take that over BVS any day.
well,
they couldn't have walked him to the station.
well, the idea of the PSA is pretty much what all these guys do every time they open their mouth. Oh, guys, this is bad. You didn't know, but there's sexism in this area. And you're like, guys, this is an ice cream stand. What do you? We
His
can't.
political slogan 33.
It's always something that's bad because it's potentially offensive to some demographic that we never thought of because some people might be lactose intolerant or something. It's just kind of this ridiculous.
Because strawberry flavor is sexist.
The sensitivity police, like you can't be you can never be too sensitive to the environment. So people are always like on pins and needles with everything, or on eggshells, walking on eggshells because you might be selling something to someone who might be have an allergic reaction or something like stupid like that.
Here's a PSA. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time around certain people, that's an abusive environment. Get out of there.
I still think you guys are giving him
Or
way too
just-
much credit.
Or just stomp some eggshells.
Well, let's. I want to get to his points.
Like,
It's going to take.
Hold on, Smud. A little while ago, Sir Axelot asked if he could join.
Oh no, more people! If he wants to
Axelot's
pop in,
awesome.
that's. If he wants to pop in, that's totally cool. I just got to make some room.
if McIntosh critiques Black Panther, then we can talk about him wanting Mary Sue's. Till then, I just think he wants the politically correct people, the people that you aren't allowed to touch.
He does bring up that
Power.
movie. If memory serves, he does bring up that movie. So
Oh, you spoil it yourself already.
All right, let's keep going. If Sir X wants to come in, you guys can add him. That's totally cool. Let's go.
I want to stress two things up front. First, this video is not a blanket condemnation of all Marvel movies. Many of them are fun, entertaining spectacles, and some of the more recent entries have made great strides in terms of representation.
Oh boy.
Secondly, this is not some kind of galaxy-brained hot take claiming all the bad guys are actually right.
Oh, we're trying something new. Okay.
Although it must be said that a few of them do have legitimate political grievances.
What?
I knew he would make him the exception.
What a
So
great
obvious.
What a
Like,
great
why
idea to
can't
bring
you
this
just admit
guy.
they're bad guys? Okay, just because someone has a political movement that agrees with you doesn't mean they're automatically good guys, okay? And just because they have a grievance doesn't mean they're good guys. Just because they've been wronged in the past doesn't mean they're good guys. You know what makes them good guys? Being good guys. That's what makes them good guys.
But
This
Lit
guy
Dev,
isn't even right in this situation. He's talking about Africa, but he's never been part of Africa. He's been in his little isolated zone away from Africa for thousands of years. What the fuck does he have to say about African culture being stolen and put in museums?
but don't forget, like they're not all bad all the time. The Nazis invented the bicycle lanes and brought order to the traffic on the streets
And ban smoking.
Well, I'd be pretty honored.
and founded natural reserves
I'd be-
and
Therefore, the-
animal protection laws.
I would be
Yeah,
pretty
therefore
honored
they're not evil.
if anything Canadian was put into a museum. You'd be like, wow, really? Is it worth that effort to put anything from Canada?
I'm gonna go with no.
I
He's
mean,
a syrup bottle.
like, I can't see any Canadian Aboriginal going, how dare you take our tribal totem or something. It's like, okay. I mean,
The
that's-
Mounties did take the Huskies.
That
That was a thing.
honestly, if it's worth to be put in a museum, I'd be impressed. So, but anyway, Killmonger, good because black people, I guess. I don't know. Whatever.
No.
Man, McIntosh, 7 people in the cult. This is like, what? Smudcast 200 days?
Yeah, it feels ancient, doesn't it? Yeah, I feel really old. Anyway, how's it going, Sir Axelot? How's it going, buddy? I see you're there. Your mic is not working, but we will give you the time of day when it's there. So, oh, you're typing?
He will rise.
Immediately starts typing.
He's typing. Okay, we're gonna keep on going with the video, but I'm sure we'll We'll get to them later. Okay.
How do you think your ancestors got these? You think they paid a fair price? Or did they take it like they took everything else?
On the whole, MCU villains are written to be ruthless and brutal, sometimes to a genocidal degree. What we are going to be examining are the underlying ideological implications.
That was a scene from the Eternals, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was not just genocidal. That was planet death.
Okay. It's okay. He's not going to talk about that. It's totally fine.
He killed the
Asians
planet.
Baked into the superhero formula.
A great many people see you as heroes. There are some who would prefer the word vigilante.
Well, that's their problem.
One of the inspirations for this video is an essay by the late anthropologist David Graeber entitled Superposition, a longer version of which can be found in the back of his book, The Utopia of Rules. His article, deconstructing the politics embedded in superhero narratives, was originally written back in 2012 as a response to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises. But since Marvel media has now become the dominant cultural paradigm in Hollywood, I thought it would be an interesting experiment to apply Graeber's core thesis to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
But that movie was
Graeber
stupid.
observes that the heroes are purely reactionary.
Oh god.
In the literal sense. They simply react to things. They have no projects of their own, other than to design more high-tech weaponry and indulge in the occasional act of charity.
Is that what you'd call...
Charity is not enough?
Wait a second. Is this the UN? Is this just they defend stuff? It's like, yeah, that's the point.
Even then...
It's reactionary. It's not progress. And progress, as we know from this ideology, progress always means towards the socialist utopia. And reactionary means you are in the way of that. You're on the wrong side of history, because the right side of history always leads to progress, always leads to utopia. And that means we can just, why wouldn't we accelerate that? That's why we need to be on the right side of history and be for progress. Otherwise, we just stave off the inevitable coming of paradise.
Counterpoint, The Dark Knight establishes that Batman has set up an entire network patching up every single phone that's connected to like anything, satellites, whatnot, allowing to have access to everything within the city, which is what makes his butler leave him, because it's too creepy for him. And that was a proactive move on Batman's part. That wasn't charity or a weapon to point at somebody.
It's a dystopian control mechanism.
Yeah, that's a very proactive one that made what's Batman's butler called?
Alfred,
thank you. That made Alfred go, you know what? Maybe you've gone a bit too far. Maybe it's time that I hang up the coat and leave you to your things, because you've clearly lost a couple of votes.
Well,
bitch, you crazy.
Luckily, Graeber here means literally reactionary to violence, I'm assuming. So, but that's fine. We don't expect Tony Stark to just like create the singularity for humanity or anything like that. He might. But the interesting thing in this text is that he does say reactionary in the literal sense, right?
Which means that usually these people use the word not in the literal sense, but in the ideologically laden newspeak sense, which is always the insult towards the non-socialist. Hello, Sir Axelot. Your mic is...
Am I actually on now?
Yes, you
Hello?
are.
Yes.
Okay, good. Hello.
Hi.
Sorry. Technical issues again. One of these days I will replace my headset. Good evening, everyone.
Hey.
Panel.
Okay.
Lit Dev. Everybody. Hello.
Hello.
All right. I
didn't realize we were covering Jonathan McIntosh tonight, or I would have been here earlier.
Oh, one of your personal favorites, I take it. Oh, jeez.
Oh, yes. I've been a big fan of his since 2014.
Oh.
Do we play the McIntosh song at the end?
Oh, there's an idea. Yeah, can't wait to be copyright strike if all these Marvel and DC films haven't been a good example of that already. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're in the watch together and everything's jiving on your end of the screen.
Yeah,
I am. I have a quote about being reactionary from David Graeber on the screen right now.
Excellent. So. That's exactly where we are. We're going to keep going. So far, Jonathan is doing an okay job of saying what's happening and what's his premise. He's not jumped anything yet. So that's fine.
He's doing a good job of making his socialism blatantly obvious.
It's not that he can't argue. It's just that he's always known how to argue. He's just horrendously wrong about everything.
He's trying to sell us something horrible.
Yeah,
it's a snake oil salesman.
I've seen this quote before too, and it's like I don't fully understand what the intended alternative is.
It's a complaint. It's a complaint that they're not doing enough. Nobody's ever doing enough. You need to do more in order to bring about paradise faster.
Yeah, Batman is just, and as Bruce Wayne is just not good enough for the city of Gotham with all his charity work. It's just not good enough. You can't.
He needs to give away all of his money.
All his.
Yeah.
Right. And when you want to know what, go ahead, Whisp.
Yeah, you have to look at this ideology as a cultish scam that wants you to donate everything you own, down to your last shirt, to its cause. You have nothing anymore. The cause and whoever leads it, whether that's a known person or whether that's some shady figure behind the scenes in a big chair stroking a cat, doesn't matter. That top of the pyramid then has everything. That's the point. That's why it's never enough. What you do, you have to do more. You have to commit more, and you have to work all the time for the cause, so that you don't even have time to question it. It's like any other cult. It's just bigger.
Okay.
Right. And when for this particular quote, you ask what more means. You ask what the actual solution is, and we get deep and insightful responses like, "You need to do better, Senator."
Yeah, and that's on purpose. There's no concrete example of what you personally should do, because when you just make it that vague, it's to make you think yourself of something, to come up with something to do, to donate. At best donate your soul to the whole thing if you could.
Well, I always liked you need to do better, Thor. That was always my favorite.
I was gonna say, Axelot, you say that clip's in here.
Oh, really?
The one Axelot said.
This video is recent enough to have
that clip. Yes.
To have that clip in it.
Yes.
Okay. Let's get there. Hopefully.
In fact, superheroes seem almost utterly lacking in imagination.
What?
The villains, in contrast, are relentlessly creative. They are full of plans and projects and ideas.
And now you know why.
Welcome to the genre, McIntosh.
And now you know why the socialists put the real criminals in charge of the gulags.
Well, there's a reason why we call the villains conniving. It's not that far removed from what it means to be evil.
Here's the thing. Also, he says they're absent of creativity and everything. Tony Stark made an Iron Man suit. Like, he made an Iron Man suit. The good guys made a super soldier serum that no one could copy, and they made Captain America. Every single one of those characters are creative and imaginative. That's why they keep winning, because they know how to think, they can fight, they can outmaneuver people. So yeah, they have plenty of imagination. It's just that the villains use their imagination differently. And I should know I'm writing a villain as a comic book character.
And don't forget Jarvis. He wrote an entire pseudo AI.
Yeah, it's just
and renewable energy.
Yeah, I was about to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
In a cave.
I was gonna say Tony Stark made the reactor, the reactor for his heart, and in a cave, by the way. Yeah, in the cave, and also
with a box of scraps.
Yeah, with basically nothing. In the middle of like a cave in the desert. Like this, he made it. So he's pretty creative to me. And also, he made Ultron. He built and made Ultron. That was his plan. It was a bad plan, but it was still a very creative idea. I think McIntosh only respects creativity if it's bringing about gigantic forms of change, but it's not the only form of creativity.
Yeah, that's why the Great Leap Forward was a great idea, even though it killed 10 million, 100 million. Too many to count.
Yeah, the issue.
What he also forgets is that in order to beat the villain, you need to be creative.
Well, I think the arc reactor, which is an alternate form of energy source, is perhaps one of the ultimate forms of creativity that would benefit anyone going into some society to advance itself.
Yeah.
So,
well, hell, what if anyone can recall? What's Tony's first scene in the first Avengers movie? Literally, his first scene.
Too long ago.
Yeah.
Connecting a prototype arc reactor to Stark Tower, that they literally say it can run for like at least a year. He is actually like using his tech to taking the socialism as it is. He's actually doing something to move humanity forward. He's going for the energy crisis.
In this quote, he's
in
this quote, he's making a contrast between being reactionary and being creative.
It could be
Instead,
creative as a reaction.
Yeah, the opposite of reaction is not creativity, it's action.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I agree that superheroes are by nature, I wouldn't call them reactionary, I would call them reactive, because you're not going, I mean, what does an active hero look like? It looks like somebody going around policing the community.
An active hero is in this context, an active hero is basically a villain.
Well, we could bring it back to storytelling in general and say that any hero who is an active protagonist has to actually think outside of, well, I just got to get stronger. It's like there's tactics, there's strategies, there's planning, there's development. And that's where we get the Batman concept of, was it it's a Batman?
Oh, he's
gambit?
damn! Oh my God, he's damn creative, and he's a philanthropist like no other.
Well, yeah, that's the other side of how you want to look at Batman, because he's doing his own gambits with the villains he understands psychologically because he's so good at understanding people. So he's forcing himself to make Gotham better in every way he can conceive of. So he says, okay, I'm going to help the worst of people. I'm not going to kill them. I'm going to give them a home in Arkham to fix them up. Obviously, it doesn't work for some, but that's the best we can do as a humane solution.
Well, it's Arkham. What do you expect?
Well,
I mean, in the Batman's best depictions, he cares for all the villains as much as he cares for any citizen. Like I remember Batman the animated series, which is like the hallmark. Everyone creates a hallmark, and it is because objectively it has been, because everyone's like, "Oh, don't worry, guys, our new iteration of Batman is based off the animated series." Like they keep using it as a selling point. But the thing is,
wait a second here. I think you're forgetting something. I think you're forgetting that in one episode, a thermos full of soup smashed against Mr. Freeze's helmet.
Oh yeah,
and that makes it a bad show.
That just destroys everything. But
it's a bad show because of thermal shock.
That's
it's not a good show.
Which is not a thing in reality, apparently.
But things there, I always go back to that. I think the episode is called Lockdown, where there is a crazy guard who calls himself Lockdown because he just hates the Arkham inmates so much because they're all criminals.
Lockdown or Lockup?
Lockup. I think it's Lockup.
Yeah.
At this point, in the year 2023, basically the same thing. But the thing is, he wanted to abuse them, he hated them, and Batman and Bruce even was like, "This is awful. This is appalling. You don't treat these people with inhumane treatment. You just don't. You treat them like human beings." And so the whole confrontation between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Lockup was based on that perspective of humanity, where Bruce Wayne and Batman see these horrible, conniving villains as still like human beings with a potential to become good again, just cautiously. Yeah. But where Lockup is like, no, they're bad guys. They're just evil bad guys. Just torture them, kill them, do whatever it is. Like they're just scum. And that was the whole conversation between those two.
Yeah, Batman accepts the humanity in those villains, and that many of them, not all, but many of them, have a tragic backstory. And Lockup is playing Judge Dredd because he's fed up with this never works. These people keep breaking out. I'm sick of it.
I think the de facto example.
That is also an what's the word? Understandable position. It's not necessarily the correct or right position, but it's an understandable one. Would you not eventually lose your cool if you see these really horrible people that keep poisoning the whole bloody city, escaping over and over again, and all that happens is that they get back into the community room of your asylum?
Well, yeah, it's a good point too, because where Batman and Bruce Wayne, they deal with these villains a lot, but I mean, even at worst, when he's Batman, he deals with them every once in a while when they're doing a crime. The guy that the guard that goes crazy has to spend like every day with them, 8 hours a day or more. So there's a reason why he goes insane.
Well, I think that the de facto example of Batman caring about a particular villain is like when Harvey Dent first became Two-Face in the animated series.
Oh, the animated series.
He was having nightmares. Yeah, and he had nightmares about it and everything.
Because he felt so much guilt because he blamed himself for what happened to Harvey.
To the point where he was literally reliving his own backstory in the process.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, "Why didn't you save us, Bruce?" or whatever it is. And he's like, "Oh man, it's so good. Batman the Animated Series is so good." It's so
yes.
Good.
And what did he turn into at the end? The judge, who was even trying to kill himself.
A third split personality for Harvey. Yes,
yeah,
the judge.
That was amazing. I did not see that one coming. There were hints for it. There were hints for it, and I felt like, oh wait a minute. How could he prepare Two-Face's hideout that well? That is weird.
Interestingly enough, the death in Canada, or the death penalty in Canada, is coming up not only because of those crazy advertisements of euthanasia we had from some health clinic a few months back, but it's actually on the minds of a lot of Canadians because crime has been increasing like crazy. So we go to nuclear.
I wonder how that happened.
We went to the nuclear.
And if the good people are allowed to kill themselves, why not kill the criminals?
Why not? Jeez.
Look, it's almost as if it's salami tactics.
Jesus.
Slice by slice, you slide into dystopia.
And I don't think this was brought up by the right-wing aspect of the parliament. It was probably somewhere else. But that's a whole other issue. Let's not even go there. Let's get back to the video.
Yeah, over here we just let our criminals go free on cashless bail.
New York, or is it Boston? I can't remember.
Oh, it's both.
It's both. All right. Okay.
If they only steal stuff worth under $1,000, what's the point?
Okay.
Oh, that's California.
Okay. Anyway,
basically every major city in the United States, honestly.
Back to the was he social scientist David Graeber? I think his name was. Okay. There we go.
It's important to note that Graeber is talking about the good guys acting in their superhero personas. So while we may see Bruce Banner or Matt Murdock pursuing their own personal projects...
How did you just do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
It's extremely rare to see our favorite superheroes engaging in any larger socio-political projects that push society forward.
Yeah, because it's boring.
Okay, so it
doesn't make for exciting movies.
Yeah. He's lying. He's just lying. That's the whole point of Civil War.
Well, this is the funny thing, that he expects a superhero to have a social, political, or economic program, like I guess a job or a business or a company or I don't know what exactly he's expecting, but you cannot assume every story needs to have some sort of message that has to do with pushing society forward. Why would it?
But it does.
And it just doesn't make for exciting reading or watching.
Yes, it does.
It can. You're right. It can.
It does. Watching Peter Parker like hand out food at a homeless shelter is an exciting story to read.
Part of the engagement of the storylines and having to deal with normal bullshit and having to balance that. Yes, that is part of it, but it's not what it is about.
Right. Okay.
It's just part of the element.
So here we see a problem. Yeah, I was just going to say this. Here we have a problem of he's trying to confuse or combine genres, which there's no need to. But even in that case, there are instances of Batman and Tony Stark and other people who are philanthropists who are doing that. And that is in the entire comic books are just dedicated to them day in the life. And they go around and they help people out and stuff blows up and they have to go in there and stop fires or whatever the case may be. And this is like the 1,000 view stare or the 1,000 view.
1,000 yard stare.
Yeah, like you're looking down from a far, far away. It's like, dude, if you read these issues, you'll see these stories of Batman and Tony Stark and other people going about their day and helping people in a normal sense, in a normal way. There's plenty of those stories where they hang up their cape and cowl and they just go out. So
and Bruce Wayne walked in a soup kitchen, so that the Invincible story had that going, helping a what's it called? One of your bum shelters.
There's so many of
That
these
stuff's everywhere.
So
That stuff's everywhere.
he's concerned probably with the MCU aspect, but I don't know why he wants a movie to have a slice of life hero take off the suit and go to a, I don't know, community center and teach something. Like, I don't get why.
It's a different movie.
I don't know why you'd want that. Like, what's the point?
He's not including it to movies, though. He included the one with Miss Marvel.
Oh, really?
The TV show. So he's not limiting it to movies, meaning that you can include the other stuff like Matt Murdock, who's a lawyer.
Well, he's about Marvel
Was
in general.
explicitly a pro bono defense attorney for people who can't afford attorneys.
Right. But that's not pushing society forward. That's just being a lawyer.
And I think this what is happening is that he will only accept things that are for social progress in quotation marks, if it is in the direction he wants. If it is something that is not in the direction he wants, he won't recognize it as such, or even call it reactionary.
Yeah, like,
or if it's if it's just helping in a soup kitchen, well, that's not pushing society forward.
Yeah,
that's also just keeping the status quo up.
Think of
because it's not changing anything.
Think of Black Widow giving a class on gun safety. You know, it's like, well, you can't do that. You're teaching kids how to use guns. It's like, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with teaching kids if they're in a course to learn how to shoot. Gun safety, that's pretty normal. But because it's guns are bad. You can't have guns. Or rather, in America, the guns are seen as negative, a negative influence because, well, is that a left-leaning thing anymore in America, or is that just a Canadian thing? Guns are seen as bad.
It's still pretty. Generally, it's associated with the Democrats. I mean, the further left you go, some of the real far left types are in support of gun ownership, but
okay. Like, I'm trying to think
generally
the extremists
gun ownership
who want the revolution. They want guns.
Yeah, like think
So in America so far, if I've seen, it's no one should have only cops should have guns. Also defund the police. That's what I've seen.
Okay, because
they literally want the purge essentially.
Well, when you have these characters who are military guys, like Natasha is basically a spy. She's good at fighting and guns, right? I don't know what else she can do, but if she were to be a teacher or help people, she would teach them what she knows. So outside of killing people, self-defense would make sense. So you could say, okay, there could be a story with Natasha and she goes around helping people how to fight. It's like, great, simple enough. But if that's it, I mean, that can't be that exciting. There has to be more. You have to give me a comic book where I'm not bored out of my mind watching Natasha teach a class. There has to be something going on. So that's sort of the issue, that if you want to tell a compelling story and you're reading an X-Men comic, I expect Wolverine to start slashing some people up. I don't care if he's teaching them how to cook or fix a motorcycle. I don't care. It's a Wolverine comic. If he does not pull out his claws once, I'm gonna get bored. So.
Right, and that's what I mean. It's not like you can't have that stuff happen in the story, but it just a story that's entirely centered around just a day in the life of somebody going and canvassing for votes or something.
Right, yeah.
It's just not. It doesn't make for an interesting reading.
Yeah, right. Then you play Wag the Dog. That's a different movie.
And the other issue as well is you want to see these heroes pushing for social change or really like trying to make a major difference. Well, not every superhero is Tony Stark or Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Some of them are, high school students who are poor. So it just, this is the thing, is like they don't do enough, but it's like, what do you want us to see them doing?
I think what he is really arguing for, and I just take that from having seen tons of these arguments in that general direction. What they complain about is missing in movies. What they say, oh, we must like it because it's in the things, in the movies, in the comics that don't sell, is there is not enough of his propaganda, of his political side's propaganda that he wants to see, that he I would say fetishizes that he probably fabs to when he sees it. Oh, it's the thing I like. Oh, awesome. Oh, there's more. There's 2 hours of it. Oh, people must love this. They must all see this movie, and people don't want to see that kind of movie. So
it's like, is it only acceptable?
Want to lock them up and force them to watch it Brazil style.
Yeah, I know. Just take any genre like science fiction where you're supposed to tell a story about the future in a different way with technology and say, well, where's the social change happening in the future? It's like maybe the story isn't about social change. Maybe it's about the destruction as a result of technology. And you're sort of picking up the pieces of society to bring it back together because that's what most Fallout stories are. But where no one's advocating for I don't know, equality in the workforce when there is no workforce because we can't even make enough food to survive in this story. So there's this weird issue of genre I'm having with this guy where he's asking for this general thing, and I don't know in what context and what exactly within that context. So it's this thing like I want this magical steak at the steakhouse. The steak guy's like, "What are you talking about? What's a pig cow steak? It's like a turducken. Like, what are you talking about? How does that work? How do I cook that? Like, I can do it, but you got to tell me what you want." And Jonathan has not given me that yet, and I'm still waiting for him to give me what he's looking for.
I don't think he'll give actual examples. He will just say something along the lines of real progress hasn't been tried.
Oh, yeah.
Presumably, presumably superhero stories should all be about, the superheroes beating up crooked cops or neo-Nazis or something, because there's just so many of those around that every superhero story needs to be about that.
Well, yeah, it's
the
either
only acceptable villains.
It's either a superhero story, or it's a hero story, and if it's a hero story, it's just a guy who's heroic, and he doesn't need superpowers, doesn't necessarily need a cape, but he's doing something heroic, and everyone can identify with that, and that could be fine. That could be your slice of life, average Joe, who's a teacher or who's a lawyer, and I guess you could make a story about that, and people could buy it, and maybe that'll work out for you. I don't know. Try it out. I wouldn't bet on it, but if that's the thing that Jonathan is getting at, like just people who are heroes doing things within society, pushing for something, for some theme that he agrees with, it's like, okay, give me that example. I want to see that work. And on a movie thing or whatever he's talking about.
Teacher does not seem like a job that is compatible with superhero needs.
No, it's not. Anyway, we are 3 minutes.
Japan does it all the time.
Well, Japan does many things all the time.
Better than the U.S.
In comic books, yes, but in movies, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to keep going for another few minutes because I don't think he's going to get that answer, and I think Whisp is right that we're not going to find it. So, anyway.
There are a few heroes, like Billionaire. Entire characterization revolves around building and inventing new technologies. But notice that nearly everything he invents is related to high-tech weaponry. Weaponry that he and his friends then use in their vigilante policing initiatives.
No, he's doing that mainly because he's absolutely traumatized because he's seen the alien fleet through the portal that's going to come.
I was going to say...
Yeah, the entire third movie is about how he's on a self-destructive spiral of only inventing things related to being Iron Man.
I was going to say, it's like, John, hello, there's a little something called the arc reactor. Or at least the current design that we see starting from his time.
Yeah, and when we talk about technology, all technology tends to have a military purpose first because it's a big clash to stay alive or survive against the villain or the enemy. And then, oh look, we have nuclear power.
Yeah, isn't it? Oh, it's better than that. Isn't this a wonderfully pro-environment energy source that's not causing much waste at all?
And I'm just like, you can't even argue. It's like, no, actually, you can't even argue. Oh, Howard Stark invented it, not Tony. Well, Tony's the one that brought it into the modern age.
That's beside the point.
Yeah, there's always stories.
Thing is beside the point.
Yeah, I know.
There's always stories of people inventing one thing, and then the person refines it, and then one brings it to the mass market, and then all of a sudden we get really good nuclear reactors from Canada for some reason. I don't know the history behind that, but we do.
Yeah, look, we are having the point of somebody has invented a clean energy source that technically you can roll out on the entire planet. Eventually, the entire planet will have it.
Yeah, which
What
came about.
do you want? What more do you want?
which came about through war, and you can't just throw away that story about war. You can't just say, "Hey, Tony just went through all these trials and tribulations as a war profiteer, and he stopped that, and now he's making free energy for everyone around the world, and everyone's happy at the end." Like, that's not going to work as a plot. You have to give me some tragedy, give me some struggle. Like, did he know what he was doing? What happened? Like, his whole story with his dad is tragic, and what he became, and he didn't like what he became. He had to change that. He had to fight against the literal villain, which caused all that. So that's fine. It doesn't. But even then, he doesn't have to be a philanthropist. He doesn't have to invent free, clean energy or better energy. That's just a story in general you want to tell with conflict. So make it about war, make it about villainy, make it with fighting, with missiles and lasers and all kinds of cool robots. That's great. That's good for kids. And that's classic Marvel. So
yeah, and here we have, right on the screen, we have a high-tier scientist, Peter Parker, genius. The things he invents, he will invent, he will work on, will bring humanity forward. Oh, but that's just science. That's not social change, is it? But those inventions are what brings society forward, what will bring social change.
But I don't expect Peter Parker to be some weird philanthropist, even though he does actually do some of that stuff, soup kitchens and helping people across the street and what have you. But I don't.
No, he doesn't need to.
I don't need him to be like this weird champion of social change, and that's just let him be Peter Parker.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He doesn't need to do these things. He's helping humanity on a much higher level than that, because the inventions that he brings move society forward, so that eventually you won't need a soup kitchen. That's what I'm getting at. And people like McIntosh are so short-sighted and so impatient that they only ever look at the end result. They never look at the way towards that. That's why you have all these socialist revolutionaries. They want everything now. They want the utopian paradise right now. That's why we need the revolution right now. They do not believe in incremental change.
All right, 4 minutes in. Doing okay.
While stopping something bad might be necessary, it is very different from building something good. Although in modern politics, these two things are often conflated.
Yep. We're the agents of status quo.
I agree.
So rather than focusing on innovative ways to transform society for the better, we mostly just see superheroes reacting whenever the status quo is threatened.
I want to know Jonathan McIntosh's opinion on Mao Zedong.
You mean his status quo?
Probably whatever the corporations tell him to think. That's his opinion. It'll change on the dot too. But the thing is, the superheroes are good guys. Okay, that's the thing. Is that it kind of treats them as if they are cops or police officers that are their job is to uphold the current law. Like, the superheroes are different because, while cops are great, superheroes, they act on their own. They have they act out of righteousness usually, or a sense of justice. Like Batman.
They're the ultimate form of the courageous citizen.
Exactly. They go out on their own and they fight the bad guys no one else can fight. They fight with nothing else in their hearts except for righteousness and a need to do good. The superhero does not protect the status quo unquestionably. The superhero fights for justice and righteousness. That's always going to be their case. So if the status quo if there's injustice in the status quo, they will fight that. That's Captain America. That's Batman. That's pretty much every single righteous superhero that happens. They always do this. If they see something that is like institutional, it could be institutional, it could be law, it could be a corrupt politician. They will fight the bad guys because that is what righteous superheroes do with a moral compass. When they're not on the leash of like a job or obligation, they're out there with no restraint, fighting bad guys who need to be fought. So the whole claim of they're just there to protect the status quo is such a terrible description of what a superhero is. Superheroes will always fight for justice. They are the good guys. They will fight even if the status quo is wrong. They will fight that status quo. That's what they do.
I just suddenly thought of maybe an Elseworlds comic where you have an alternate superhero in an alternate universe like Red Sun. But where are the socialists? Where's the Mao Zedong superheroes? Where are those heroes fighting for justice? Where do they? I've never heard those stories before. Maybe they don't exist.
Oh, no, Mao Zedong didn't fight for justice. He fought for social change, and he brought a lot of that.
Oh yes, right.
Yeah, that's why all the sparrows were killed.
One thing I have to ask is, even if you take
the sparrows won the war.
No. The locusts won the war because there weren't any sparrows anymore that would eat them. So the locusts ate all the farming fields, all the crops, and then somehow people starved. I don't know how that happened.
Somehow, it's the thing is we don't see communist or social superheroes because they're bad guys. They're always built off of we hate you. Therefore, we need to change something.
And why is it always the farmer's fault? They always end up dying, whether it's directly or through killing off all the birds.
But even if you go with the idea that superheroes are only there to keep up the status quo and that's how they use their utilities, even if you go with that fucked and just straight up wrong interpretation of superheroes and how they work, what you're left with is police officers.
In a literal sense, yeah. But
yeah.
He's trying to say, well, they don't make anything. It's like, yes, they do. We know they do. Not all of them do, but the brilliant ones that make.
Let's go with the idea that he's right and that what he's saying is correct. Let's go with that for just a second.
Okay.
Where does that lead us? Leave us, excuse me.
Oh, essentially.
Police officers.
Yeah, essentially, he wants every Marvel story to be like X-Men, where every character or adult in X-Men is a professor at the Xavier Institute. So they do the thing on the weekends where they save the day, and then the weekday they're teaching, I don't know, trigonometry or something. Like they have to constantly be doing other things. They can't just be Wolverine, who's got his.
But they must be teaching critical trigonometry.
Well, what I'm wondering is, okay, so his setup is that all the heroes are police officers. Where do you go from there? What is your point then? Because most people don't view police officers or just police in general as a negative. At worst, you get people that think it's a necessary evil.
Well, nowadays, now that they've learned their lessons, now they know, oh yeah, we kind of need
no.
police.
No, they don't. Only in places where it went really, really bad. But in general, they don't. Because this movement is still going on everywhere.
Oh, really?
And and the thing is, the police will be a positive thing again after the socialist revolution, after they have taken full power. Then police will be super necessary because they then need to enforce their status quo. Then the status quo is important because the socialist status quo is always moving forward. It's perfect. It just needs to be changed all the time, but it's perfect. It's always perfect.
What I'm essentially waiting for, and what I'm trying to set up here is, how is he going to make police officer work be evil? Like, how is he going to make that seem like a sinister thing? Is that you do the equivalent of police work?
Well, the idea behind the superheroes is that they're usually not above the law, but they get away with a lot in order to save the day because everyone realizes, Spider-Man's slamming into a building, property damage, but he's also trying to stop a train from killing like hundreds of people.
So the police officers, they get away with a lot of stuff.
They get away with a lot of stuff.
Get rid.
Yeah. They get away with breaking open your door while having the wrong address.
Like, there is a lot of stuff they get away with that can just be written off. That's what I mean. At worst, superheroes, in his example, is reduced to police officers.
Right.
And to then be a negative, you already have to have a negative view on police officers. So I'm very curious as to where he's going to take it from here then.
Yeah. Okay.
In Age of Ultron, Tony and Bruce's plan to use AI technology to bring about peace in our time is framed as the height of hubris and something that endangers all of humanity.
If you believe in
Yes.
peace,
Yeah, because it was.
let us keep it.
It was the height of
And it
peace.
is.
Using peace with quiet.
Ultimately, the Avengers learn that it's a mistake to try to reshape the world. They must, instead, wait around for external threats to
It's a mistake to rearrange the world arrogantly, incorrectly. You can change the world incorrectly, McIntosh. I don't know if you knew that, but you can definitely bring on
utterly
some changes that's negative.
reductive.
Oh my
How
goodness.
reductive is that? Just changing the world is bad because the lesson there is that changing the world is bad, and not like maybe creating an AI that will proactively nanny humanity to keep people from doing bad things is an issue.
The Nazis tried to change the world.
It's like, is he actively arguing in favor of Captain Marvel's position from Civil War II? Like, is he saying the Minority Report machine is a good thing? Is that what we're getting right now?
The thing
it
is,
seems like it.
this whole socialist thing, and we've seen that throughout history, is driven by absolute hubris. It's delusions of grandeur, and it's every time that they think, yeah, we need to just change society harder and more and more and more, and all the millions that die, they are not a problem to these people, because they see them as necessary sacrifice on the way to progress, on the way to utopia. They're martyrs in their eyes. It's okay. It's okay that you died, that we starved you. That's just that was just a setback. We're gonna change society harder now, and this time it's gonna work.
Well, I find
that's a rolling thing.
I find it ironic that he's saying that they wait for external threats. It's like, well, Ultron was not an external threat; that was a self-made threat, and they have to clean it up. And that is part of the lesson that maybe he can actually make an AI that is a proper guardian of people's behavior for violence, at least. Maybe. But he clearly went too far in certain ways, and he learned his lesson. So, not to say someone
within
else.
that isn't Vision basically a step in the right direction when it comes to that?
Yeah, that's another example that did work. That he's not, he's not some crazy guardian of humanity, but he is an AI with the power of course, that gem that allows him to.
Is he actually an AI, or is he just a Spirit Stone manifest?
Good question. I don't know.
He's. I think he has a consciousness because of the Spirit Stone, but he's built off the Jarvis AI or something.
Mind Stone.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Mind Stone. Okay.
It's really
I
not
stopped
worth
paying
getting-
attention.
It's really not worth getting into like the minute details of a guy that was literally born yesterday.
Plus, there's nothing wrong with having a scenario where hubris is the downfall of almost all humanity. That's pretty classic. I see nothing wrong with that. And again, I want to know what exactly Jonathan wants.
So far, what I'm hearing is that he wants change no matter what, and don't waste your time with preserving anything, like the things that allow you to sustain your life. Just focus on change.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you die.
All right.
Yeah, that's why I always get a kick out of whenever I hear people who say stuff like, "Why are you opposed to progress? How can't you be progressive? Why are you opposed to progress?" The progress
Always mention the Nazis. They were very
towards
progressive.
what?
Yeah, seriously, always mention the Nazis. They were very progressive. They made very progressive traffic laws. That was bringing society forward. The other stuff wasn't so good.
All right. Here's Legacy, and then we'll do Tyler Preston for the super chat. Thank you, sir. I don't like Hulk because of the socialist political whatever. I like him because he's a nuanced and based character that smashes stuff. You see,
not anymore.
That's all some heroes have to be. They have to be a guy with the big sword. They swing, and they try to hit the bad guy with it. That's all you have to do sometimes.
Yeah. And just to really hit this home, sorry to dwell on that, but back in the day, before the bad stuff happened that the Nazis did, everybody in the West, in Europe, in the United States, were praising the Nazis, were praising fascism as the new modern way to go because it's a super new organized way of running society. That's why Hitler was on Time magazine. And everybody loved the idea. The entire left loved the idea, and then then the shit happened.
All right. Here's Tyler Preston. Thank you, sir. McIntosh. Why don't the superheroes do blah, blah, blah? Batman. Those monsters you don't fight, they tend to step on the little guys.
Justice League Unlimited. He said that to Green Arrow.
All right. Well, yeah, I still want that answer. I want that clear-cut answer, Mac. I want to know what you want. And then we could probably...
You're not going to get a clear answer.
Well, if I watch a Batman story and I don't like it, I want that thing to be fixed. I want Batman to do X as opposed to whatever he didn't do. Like that would be my answer to a bad story. In this case, he's like, well, superheroes in general in Marvel don't do something. And I'm like, what is that something? Just give me something.
I would be a little bit grateful for being saved from the genocidal alien invasion thing, or the giant cosmic thing that's gonna pop from the planet like an egg.
That's a good thing to start with, yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think the real issue is that I think the real issue with the Chitauri invasion is the wealth inequality between Tony Stark funding the defense of Earth and the random citizens who got attacked.
Yeah, but look,
the real
the random
villain
citizens,
here?
The random citizens should not have guns because guns are bad.
Yeah. Who's the real villain here? Is it Loki and his alien invasion force, or is it billionaires?
Well, I have a feeling that this video is just going to be a series of events where it's like, well, why didn't they actually make something here? Why do they always have to fight? It's like, that's the plot. That's the story. That's what's happening on this.
That's the superhero genre in a nutshell.
It's like, why are they building churches? Like, I don't know.
No, churches are bad, don't you know?
Oh, they're bad. Oh, that's right. Opiate of the masses. Sorry about that.
You must build mosques.
What?
God damn it.
Okay. Anyway, 5 minutes in. I'm going to give it another 5 minutes before we call it quits because I have a feeling we're not going to get...
Isn't this worth a second installment?
Oh, probably not.
We don't get McIntosh all that often.
Yeah.
All right.
Materialize, and then, and only then, leap into action. There have, at this point, been 29 feature films and 20 television shows in and around the MCU. But depending on when you're watching this, those numbers might be significantly higher.
Yes.
Suffice to say, there's a staggering number of characters and stories. But if we take a step back, we can identify an overarching pattern within the superhero formula.
So bad.
As David Graeber points out, the basic plot takes the following form. A bad guy embarks on a project of world conquest, destruction, theft, extortion, or revenge. The hero is alerted to the danger and figures out what's happening. After trials and dilemmas, the hero foils the villain's plans. The world is returned to normal until the next episode, when the exact same thing happens.
Regular 3-act structure.
Yeah, welcome to superheroes in general.
Welcome to A Hero with 1,000 Faces, now for retards.
Oh, we're saving people's lives and locking up criminals who are criminally insane. Man,
yeah,
threat
and
to society.
That's what the story is, and that's what the story is, except for the times it isn't.
Yeah, we're locking
like
away
in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, we're defending against whatever the evil threat is. Get rid of the villain in some humane way, hopefully, and because we don't want to be like the villain in defeating the villain, and then we have time to do what Mr. McIntosh wants, which is work on moving society further. If that's your drift, if that's your hobby. Because if we don't stop the villain, we don't have the time and luxury to do that.
Well, even with moving society forward, we could even take Age of Ultron as an example of that. It's pretty bad as a story to have everyone be happy. Everything just works out. Ultron is like the best guardian of humanity. He catches crimes before they happen. He has a whole army of robots like Batman did in Kingdom Come. Everything's perfect, right? It's like, that sucks. I'm sorry, that's boring. You can't just tell it. Something has to screw up. Some wrench has to be thrown into the cogs. Something has to happen.
One of my favorite examples is from Ackman, talk about Halo 5, where had the entire story just been Locke, like the assassin agent, going out to feel the flowers, pick up the flowers, smelling it, and going back to bed at the end of the episode, and that nothing else happened, you'd be bored out of your fucking mind.
Right. Like, you can do a slice of life where everything's perfect, but there's going to be something there that's going to...
Something has to be going on.
There's going to be something like a conflict of even like, you stub your toe. I don't care. Something is going to happen, and that's the focus. And then the story is no longer about Ultron protecting humanity because that's been achieved. There's no conflict there. It's whatever I did to my toe. So it doesn't really, like, even if he wants whatever social change, in the future we're going to have equality and I don't know, everyone is available in the marketplace to sell their product and there's no competition or whatever. Great. You've achieved utopia. That's great. I don't care. I really don't want to read that story. Give me something where something screws up, something doesn't work, you fail at something, someone has to struggle. Like, you can't just have that and then nothing. So if he wants to tell that story, because I think if he wants this, he has every freedom to pursue it and discover it. I have just never encountered a story like that where that is the focus and there's no struggle. If you have a utopia, you're done. If you have a dystopia, then you have something to work with. And most stories about utopia or about the fall or some ancient society always ends in ruin. Something happened that was wrong.
It has to. It's inevitable. We cannot have utopia. Utopia is going to kill us because humans are problem-solving machines. The socialist utopia that they want is a society without problems. What happens if our minds don't have problems to solve? They start inventing them.
Well, I would always look at, let's say there's a socialist utopia. Someone has that it works somehow. I don't care how, right? Someone wants to use that as a setting. I would replace that in my brain with like a Platonic utopia. And I would say, okay, here are all the philosopher kings running around. All the guardians are doing their job. Everything's running like clockwork. Fine. That's the setting. That's not the basis for some political ideology or message. That's just a setting. You have to then say, okay, maybe there's a corrupt guardian. Maybe there's a citizen who's doing something on the side. Like, we need to have that in our story, or there's nothing to write about. There's nothing to read about. So even if he wants to have his whatever social changed world, good for him. More power to him and all his people who love those stories. Show me that book. Where is it? Let's read that and understand where he's coming from. Because right now he's just saying a bunch of platitudes about, well, why isn't Tony Stark doing more? And I'm like, what the hell do you want him to do? What's the problem here? Those stories are there. We have some of them with philanthropists, billionaires, whatever. They are there. So what exactly does he want in an MCU movie? And that's where I'm...
Or show.
Sorry?
Or show.
For show.
As now he's shown both Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk, so he's clearly not limiting it to movie storytelling.
That is...
Yeah, but he never was. It's about Marvel defenders of the status quo, so it's all Marvel.
I don't think Ms. Marvel or She-Hulk are any good examples of anything. But
it is TV.
I know, but it's not even worth looking at to analyze. It's pretty stupid, but anyway.
What, just because it has women in it?
Well,
wasn't WandaVision about social change by just
kidnapping a town?
Everyone?
Brainwashing. It's great.
She socially changed the whole town.
Yeah, so you socially changed all the kids to have PTSD about how
Radically
they're locked in a room shitting on each other.
Yeah, radical social change.
That was a fucking plot point, was that they weren't allowed to leave the room and just kept shitting in the same room. Oh, Christ.
Okay. Anyway, here we go.
Structure is consistent across most Marvel Studio productions.
There are certain things that are supposed to happen in a superhero story.
Exactly.
The pattern of resetting the world to the status quo at the end of each storyline is partially a function of the serialized nature of the superhero genre. But it's also an explicit principle unto itself within the MCU meta-narrative. Recall that in Endgame, the Avengers build a quantum time machine and use it to undo the snap. But after rematerializing all the people who had been dusted, the heroes don't employ that incredible technology or the Infinity Stones to address any of the other systemic problems that plague planet Earth.
What?
Systemic problem.
What does that mean?
He's using the argument we were with Thanos, saying you could have used that gauntlet to, regrow the planet or snap half the population every few hundred years. And you didn't do that. You didn't use it for anything. You didn't use this incredible power for anything positive.
You didn't create utopia when you could. You didn't change human beings into the new man that socialism requires to work. You wasted your opportunity to create a communist utopia.
This is no different than any fan of any story that has time travel or reality warping. Well, why couldn't they just do X? Why couldn't they just do Y? And unless the story says we can't do that, that would be too destructive or some sort of lampshade over the fact. This is normal. This is.
I will simply say to this that they don't do it because the heroes understand that humanity, like every other race in the universe, needs to learn these things by themselves.
This is like I guys remember reading the comic about getting the Infinity Gauntlet and who's going to use it. Who's going to, all the heroes are standing around, and obviously everyone just knows Captain America is going to do it. He's the guy that...
Everybody knows the monkey paw story. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
It's the same with the Infinity Gauntlet. You wish for something that you cannot foresee.
Yeah, this is just McIntosh being a fanboy going, well, why can't they do this? Why can't they do what? It's like, well...
It's also the Infinity Gauntlet is also equivalent to Star Trek technology being thrown onto a basic planet and breaking the Prime Directive. You're just throwing stuff at a civilization that is not ready for it.
Well, I mean, we already know why they can't do this or that because Kang won't allow it.
That's another bullshit problem.
I know.
That we let's just ignore that one.
Okay. All right. Here's Vladimir Dragunov. Hey, sir, how's it going? How does every good racist joke start? With the white guy looking over his shoulder. Har har.
I don't get it.
You don't want to. That's okay.
Isn't and don't isn't
No, I very
aren't
much
they
want
not
to.
able to use? Aren't they not able to use the Infinity Stones after they snap everybody back?
They had to bring them back to their places in time.
Yeah, to get rid of the alternate timelines that are created from plucking them out of time.
I haven't actually seen the film, so I don't know. But
it is explained early in the movie. It's still dumb, but they explain it.
All right.
Yeah, they get the stones from the past, use it to snap everyone back, and so they snapped Thanos out of existence, and
then
snap
they put him
everyone back, and then bring the stones back through time, which begs other questions, like, well, how did Thanos do the snap in the first place then? But we don't ask that.
Time paradoxes,
questions.
yeah.
That's doing weird things.
That's too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. So now we've reduced, or he has reduced himself to a fanboy. Thank you, John. That's fantastic. Okay.
In fact, the rules of this fictional universe prohibit them from doing so.
Our world would be overrun. Millions will suffer.
In a similar way, Doctor Strange uses the Time Stone to undo the invasion of the Dark Universe and return the world to normal.
Well, because he can.
Good! Dormammu, I've come to Barket, dies 1,000 times.
More like 1 million. They just didn't have time for it all in the movie.
Yeah, right. It was 1 million times he died for humanity with Dormammu going, fuck it! Okay, what do you have to say?
And can't he not do anything except rewind time with the Time Stone?
He can only rewind time, and he kept being rewinded to the point where he arrived and said, I've come to Bargain. So you had to hear him say that 1 million times before he went, okay, what do you have to say?
Yeah, and what didn't come through in the movie is that Doctor Strange did not lose his memory through the rewind of time, so he remembers all of his painful deaths and doing this over and over and over and over again. And to the point, Dormammu lost his mind before Doctor Strange did.
I'm suddenly reminded of a classic X-Files episode. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they find a genie in a rug, and Mulder asks for three. Well, he gets three wishes. Obviously, he asks for his first wish is world peace, and the genie goes, "Okay," kills everyone. Everyone in the world is gone. And obviously, Mulder's like, "That's not what I wanted." And
but that's the communist way of achieving world peace.
Well, he wasn't specific, so Mulder says, "Okay, well,
exactly.
Undo my wish." That's the second wish, right? Third wish, he starts typing it all out. He has like this 12-page report of what world peace means, so that the genie gets it right. All the while, the genie says, "And who is Mulder to tell the world that it's now time for world peace, or now it's that you are the great wise man to say this is the time for whatever wish you want to be imposed upon others, let alone one other person." And Mulder's just sitting there going, "Yeah, what the hell am I doing? Who am I to do any of this and to impose my will, even if it's a good thing, even if it's peace or prosperity or whatever? Who am I to do that?" While this genie, pretty much, the story of Aladdin from Disney, they want to free the genie and have them have a life. The genie just wants to have a normal, random chance encounter in a bar or a diner to meet a guy. That's because it's a female genie. Like, it was just a simple story. But even that had its own morality, saying, you do not have the authority or the wisdom or the foresight to change reality just at the snap of your fingers. Just because you have the power to do so does not mean it's a good idea. So that was back in the 90s.
And it seems like his issue that he's taking here is not so much that the characters don't do it with the undoing the snap, is that on a meta level they made it so that the characters can't do anything but restore the status quo, even though we find out in subsequent stories that they didn't. They completely changed the status quo. It's the whole basis for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And now, like, his issue is that on a meta level, the writers will not write the characters enacting vast social change because the writers are not sufficiently revolutionary. They're not properly invested in the total state like he is, I guess.
And the story is not about that. Can you imagine 80% of the story is Doctor Strange fixing the timeline, and then, hey, let's feed the homeless with time travel or whatever the case he wants to solve.
My main trouble here is that McIntosh is complaining that Doctor Strange is just returning the world to normal from the equivalent of it being sucked up by a black hole. Like total death of everyone and everything.
Yeah,
and preventing that is somehow not good enough. This is bad. Technically, what he's trying to tell us all, this is bad behavior.
Yeah, think of a police.
That's why he's talking all of this down. It's bad behavior.
Think of a policeman or a fireman saving you from your burning house, and it's like, well, are you going to fix my house? It's like, what? I'm a fireman. What do you want from me, kid? It's this weird. You need to give me more. You gave me my life.
Oh.
Give me more than that. You can't leave me here for whatever weird reason or whatever the case may be.
Oh, I think I know where this stance comes from. Because the ideologues, the fanatics, the radical revolutionaries, they understand that they can only take control, they can only take full power during the total collapse of society, like when everything is completely broken down, because nobody wants their bullshit ideology. The majority doesn't want their bullshit ideology. It's just this fringe group of lunatics. And so society needs to break down so that they can take over. So any effort to restore society to the status quo is a bad thing. It's in the way. And that's why he's telling us that, well, restoring the world to existence is bad. Don't think about restoring the world to existence.
Also,
let chaos reign.
Yeah.
The idea of not reaching perfection, such as world peace, where it's pretty much built into the idea of everyone already being perfect or reaching perfection within a certain time frame, was also an idea explored at least since 1937 or 1967 with Zabalku, which is a creature that supposedly when you try to climb the quote-unquote Tower of Victory, you will reach Nirvana if you reach the top. But as you climb, the steps become it's like a weight is constantly on you the further you go. And once you reach the near top, you'll likely die, as only if you are perfect will you reach the Nirvana. You will reach Ascension. And the only person that's ever reached Nirvana is the equivalent of Jesus. Like, it's a pointless, the point of the story is a pointless journey, so to say. It's a fruitless journey.
I see.
Oh, no. Well, you can put it that way. The idea is rather that the path is the way. Because it's not about the goal. If you try to make it about the goal, you will not reach it, because the more you think about the goal, the more you will try to take shortcuts or don't notice that you're getting off the path. But each time you get off the path is when you get further away from the goal. That is why you need to focus on the path. As long as you stay on the path, you will eventually, throughout I don't know how many reincarnations, reach the goal. And on top of that, you have then the idea that the Buddha came back, despite having reached Nirvana, to teach everyone how to get there. So I made it, but it would be selfish of me to stay there while everyone else is struggling. So I'll come back and just give you a hint. And the thing is that this is the socialists, the Antifa especially, they work the exact opposite way. They are obsessed with the goal, their goal, and they don't care about the path. That's why they say, by any means necessary. By any means necessary is they don't care about the path. And if the path is the goal, any means necessary cannot be justified. The means cannot be justified if the path is the goal.
I just finished reading Siddhartha last week, so there was the yogis and a Buddha pops up. So it's an interesting interpretation of the Buddha story. And personally, I had a Hesse phase in my teens. Yeah. I'd say it's the only really worthwhile book Hermann Hesse wrote. Everything else is basically the same over and over again with different characters. I was told,
but it's not Siddhartha. Siddhartha is the only one that's different.
I was told
Steppenwolf is pretty famous in Germany, but I think it's a bit overrated. It's rather self-indulgent, whiny stuff, and ends in a drug trip. And and many of his stories end in drug trips or suicide, and then meeting God and how awesome God is, and some stuff like that. The one good thing about the Steppenwolf is the intro, the prologue, because the story is told from a third party that just finds the notes of the guy who calls himself the Steppenwolf, who lived in the same building as a subtenant. And in the prologue, he just describes the staircase before in front of the apartment. And that part is way more interesting than the rest of the story, my personal autistic view.
Well, I was told something.
A tangent.
I was told something very similar, but yeah, it is if you want to read a really, well, I wouldn't say it's really good. I think it's his best. Other people have said the same. So it's not that long. It's 120, 140 pages. So
yeah,
good book. Won't take you that long. Anyway, let's get to some super chats. We got a huge one from Vladimir and a follow up. So let me read that out. Vladimir, how's it going? Also, a while back at work, we were doing this post-orientation wrap-up. One of the guys was coughing badly, and when asked if he was okay, he says, yeah, I've been sick since Saturday, and today I woke up and couldn't smell or taste anything. Oh, dear. And the best part, I didn't think it was COVID till you guys pointed it out. I am sad that I lack the talent for make this up. Okay, well.
Oh, wow.
In a post-COVID world, I'm a little shocked. I mean, I have heard stories like that.
He just really hasn't been paying attention for the last 3 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you do know of those villages that 20 years after the war were still in war mode and all all fortified and not letting anyone get there. There were those even existed in Germany. Yeah, very remote. I think it was I don't know the name anymore, but it was a remote village in Bavaria, and there was like only one road into the mountains up there, and I don't know how many people lived there, but they had no ways of communication with the outside world. They just thought it's still going.
Imagine driving up there and getting taken pot shots at by people who speak mountain.
Countryside Bavarian is very different. That is really mountain speak.
All right.
You're not wrong.
Let's not go off too on a tangent here. I know there's a fun story there, but let's keep going. We are at 7 minutes. I'm going to go till 10 because, again, he's going to keep. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And it's like, dude, give it a rest. So
why did he only save the world from total destruction?
Why couldn't he bake cookies? Why couldn't he cure cancer? Why couldn't he go back in time and save my mommy? Like, oh god.
This is why capitalism
didn't he
has failed.
Yeah, why didn't he invent sustainable clean energy? Oh, wait.
Yeah. Anyway.
I like how in Marvel movies, maybe that's why he hates them. Because in Marvel movies, capitalism led to sustainable clean energy. Because that's what Tony Stark was. He was the ultimate capitalist. Stan Lee made him to be like that. Stan Lee, in fact, this is how Chad Stan Lee was. He knew that a bunch of the young kids, they hated capitalists and all that stuff like that. So he purposely made a character. His goal was to make a character that they would hate, that they should hate, but make him have all those traits, capitalist, businessman, CEO, and then give him virtues. So even though he was all the things they hated, they would like him anyway.
Yeah.
So he is a capitalist.
Isn't that like the Mr. Beast thing? Who cures 1,000 blind people?
Oh, let's not get.
How dare he? How dare he cure 1,000 blind people?
Let's not get into
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason Tony Stark, on his debut, looked just like Howard Hughes.
I see.
I mean, part of that is because basically every businessman in a story set in the 50s or 70s looks like Howard Hughes. Mr. House looks like Howard Hughes.
It's great. I love
that. Was the style, that the kind of like the pencil mustache and the slicked hair.
Okay.
Because that was Howard Hughes. He was one of the most famous public figures of the 40s and 50s.
All right. Here's Tyler Preston for the donation. Thank you, sir. Jonathan McIntosh is unironically saying that superheroes should be dictating how the world should run. The Justice Lords, Injustice, and Squadron Supreme explores these ideas and explains why those are very bad things.
And Civil War
he's
too.
technically anti-democracy. He wants to be ruled by a few self-righteous tyrants.
I'm assuming that relates to the great leader.
Well, in the end,
yeah,
democracy is only when it decides in our favor. We just had that exact thing happen in Berlin, where they did a Volksentscheid. That is, you get a vote. The people get a vote on a matter, and it was about the environmentalism bullshit, the totally extremist Green Party, Maoist, Extinction Rebellion crap, and the people slammed it down, and. Now the Greens are super livid about it and going, "Oh, we will fight for it anyway," and do things, and which now goes in German Twitter all over the place by everyone seeing, "Oh, see, they're radicals. They only want democracy if it's in their favor, and if it's not, then they want to burn down everything."
So your country had a referendum on green energy?
No, it's just a Berlin-specific thing.
Oh, a city referendum.
Yes.
Municipal.
Yes. Berlin is a state. It's a city.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well,
we have many of our major cities are city-state.
I got you. Okay.
Which is a concept I recommend to the United States to get rid of this city versus land countryside thing.
Oh, that's going to be tough to get rid of.
the make New York its own state officially. I tell you, you'd make the people of upstate New York very happy if you made New York City its own state.
New York, New York.
Make LA its own state.
Anyway, let's try to finish off this, at least half of this video.
No, you make like the coast of California its own state, and then everything inland is its own state, because that's basically what all the major cities are port towns, so they're all on the coast. LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego, etc.
Anyway, guys, we're going to finish this off, hopefully. 10, 11 minutes, hopefully. Okay.
I guess we're not going to get full McIntosh tonight.
No.
We're going to get.
There's always a part 2.
We're going to end up 1/3
Part
McIntosh.
2. Part 2.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to.
Oh, no.
The first thing Mike says,
I guess
all
it'll be about
streams
half
part
McIntosh.
2.
Anyway, here we go.
Yet he is expressly forbidden from using that power to change the status quo in any other way.
Yeah, that's a pretty normal time travel thing.
Tamper with natural law. We defend it.
Yeah, they say it
Where
right there.
If you can rewind time, it's bad to change the past because it can screw things up because of the butterfly effect.
The universe operates. They run the risk of turning into a supervillain themselves.
Thank you, John. You get it.
Yes.
At this point,
Yeah, John, because radically restructuring society from the ground up so that you can control it and make everything perfect in whatever way you see fit and impose your will onto everyone else is a bad thing.
While showing the prime suspect of that very thing.
It's almost as if there's a moral lesson left.
It's almost like she's shown as a hypocrite
It's
in
like
the movie where she goes, "Oh, when you do it, you're a hero, but when I do it, I'm a horrible person and it slays 1,000 people."
Yeah.
Oh, so you wanted Dormammu to come in and take over?
Yeah,
He wants an all power. He thinks that ultimate power does not ultimately corrupt.
It's as if
and just brings us the God leader.
It's as if the heroes have this this core of ethical belief and structure and how morals work, and the villains don't. That's why they're villains. It's like,
yeah, he just kind of gave away that his fundamental problem is that the heroes uphold people's ability to maintain free choice.
This is amazing. Thanks, John. That's how comic books or stories with good and evil work. That's great. All right, we're getting somewhere.
it might be useful to define what the status quo means.
No, it doesn't.
In a sociological sense, the status quo refers to the current social, political, and economic structures under which we all live. For most societies today, those structures include things like militarized nation-states, neoliberal governments, privatized industry, and some version of corporate capitalism.
I mean, I don't like neoliberal governments either, but is there... yeah, what does he want the superheroes to, deconstruct the idea of a militarized nation state?
Yeah, does he want, like, private?
Is he going full one world borderless government? Is that what we're trying to... is that the line of argumentation here, is that nation states are bad?
I guess he's trying to describe the general culture of society, like the first world climate, I guess.
Sure, he's describing the status quo, and he's criticizing the idea that superheroes maintain it. So he's kind of implicitly criticizing the status quo itself.
It's a modern take, but I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's how we relate to what the heck's going on. If this was like a cyberpunk reality where you're like, where are we? What time frame? Like,
I've been waiting for the past 8 minutes for him to establish what's wrong with the current state of affairs to justify changing the fundamental rules of reality. What could be so bad about the current state of reality that he preferred that Dormammu shows up and goes nom?
Well, you heard it. The first thing he said was militarized nation states. So the problem is that there's more than one country.
Yeah, but every country is going to have some kind of military, and they're going to have some sort of defense.
That's him setting the stage. I'm waiting for him to come down with a hammer. He's been titillating with the fucking hammer for 8 minutes now. When was he go full McIntosh? When is he actually gonna hit the nail on the head?
Listen, man, I don't know about you. Not all of us are into being titillated with a hammer, so.
or a military.
You're watching
No.
McIntosh.
I was gonna say neither a hammer nor a sickle.
You're watching McIntosh. You're into this shit.
Oh, God,
You're right,
no.
you're
Please
right.
don't titillate anyone
You're
with a
right,
sickle.
Law. You're right, Law. No, but there's only one thing you got wrong. It's a sledgehammer, not a hammer.
There you go.
All right.
Well, then what's the sickle then?
He's getting to his analogy, I hope. There we go.
The fact that the primary responsibility of superheroes is to maintain the status quo wouldn't be much of a problem if the world, as it exists, were a wonderful paradise. But, as we all know, it very much isn't.
Wow, no kidding. Human beings are not perfect.
Our world is not their world. Okay, we don't have like Iron Man and stuff. First of all, second of all, he's going off a false premise. This is what happens. But this is something that is acknowledged in some fields like law. Like there's an idea of arguing from a false premise, and this is what he's doing. His false assumption. He's arguing that from the idea, the given idea that superheroes are there to protect the status quo. They're not. They're there to fight evil. That's why they're called superheroes. Like that's where he goes wrong with the entire thing. Like he's building his house on sand because what he's building his house on doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not true. It's an illusion. It's just a headcanon. He wants to believe that superheroes are just there to protect the status quo. They're not. They're not there. If they were, then if Ultron took over, they would just defend Ultron because he became the status quo. But they're not. They're there to fight for justice. So his whole thing is false. It's like he feels like the superheroes are essentially the same as cops, just with powers.
Yeah.
And police officers, that's their literal job. I'm not trying to demonize anybody. The police officer's job is to protect the laws that are in place. And yeah, they can personally disagree with the law or whatever, but their job description is to uphold the laws that have been passed and that are in place.
Laws of land.
Yeah,
exactly.
Law was referring to reducing the superhero to a policeman, and that they can break certain things, they can do certain things in society to achieve that justice, the same way Batman breaks the legs of villains to get them information so he can serve a greater justice, he could stop a greater tragedy. So there's that sort of, we give some of these authorities to policemen and to superheroes to hurt or kill people for the greater good. That's sort of the social agreement we make with the Leviathan of any power, whether it's municipal or federal, to say, we'll give you these authorities to break the rules so that the greater number of us are alive. And
by the way, you brought up Batman. The status quo of Gotham City is corruption.
Yeah,
shouldn't Batman be defending the corruption if superheroes are all about defending the status quo? The reason why that is, even the cops are defending the corruption because they're also corrupt in Gotham City. So if McIntosh's premise was the correct one, obviously Batman would be defending the corruption, but he's not. Because he's a superhero, and superheroes they do the right thing, even if it's tough, even if it goes against the entirety of society. So again, like I said before, his whole entire video is just moot because it's based off of a premise that isn't true, a false one.
That's what I mean, is that if you set him up, if you give him the courtesy of following the idea of all they do is glorify police work, then that doesn't work because Batman does not uphold corruption. He fights it every way he sees it. And he only works with Gordon consistently.
Yeah, and
he's like one of the few good cops.
Yeah, and he does break the law as a vigilante does, because that's what vigilantes are, for a greater justice. So he does crazy things. He's trained to do all these amazing maneuvers, all this technology, all for his heroic desire to help the city. And there's all these reasons why Gotham is crazy, and I love those theories because they make possible sense as to why the setting never changes, and it's always comes down to corruption. It always comes down to really strong laws, like gun laws, and that's where you get all the guns. All these restrictive, like you make something illegal, you're gonna get more of it. It's kind of funny. You have a subsidy, you get more of it. You make something illegal, you get more of it because everyone wants it. It's hard to find. That's what happened with prohibition laws. We made the largest organized crime ever seen before from the mob, just because people wanted to drink. So,
it made some of those criminals so rich that their families could elevate themselves to politician level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing.
It only took us 8 minutes and 30 seconds in for him to finally tell us what the point of this video is. 8 minutes and 30 seconds out of a 21-minute video to get to the point of his thesis.
The world is not perfect. Thanks, John. It's great.
Yeah. And that's it. And I'm happy that I got a point. Now it's probably just going to be 13 minutes of him hammering that point in.
Well, think of it this way. Imagine we had 5 Elon Musks, not just one, 5. And they were all doing everything. Like one Elon Musk did, boring. He wants to make like 3-dimensional highways. The other one wants to go to the moon. The other one wants to cure cancer. Like they all doing everything, like biomedical sciences, technology, everything. Like imagine how amazing that would be, and how
Making
much
cat girls.
Oh yes, but it would not be enough. It would simply not be enough.
They would be
because what McIntosh is doing is he's whining that things are not perfect and that any effort to make things better is not good enough, is not perfect enough. He sits there complaining and raking in the money.
This is the argument.
It's like Movie Bob.
Oh God! Well, my brain just went what? This is like when people were criticizing myself back in the day when I was talking about how the stories in BioWare games are broken sometimes at the premise. It's like, well, you just want a story that's perfect. You want like this great hero who's pure-hearted. It's like, no, I don't want a pure-hearted. No one wants perfect characters like Mary Sue's running around. We want stories that make sense. And a story that makes sense, at least within the confines of time, like a movie, like 2 hours at least, you need to wrap them up. You have to get the premise going. You have to get the plot finished. And then you resolve with an underlying message. You can't just say, well, now that we have the time machine, we're going to go and fix, I don't know, slavery back in time and then screw everything up for the future, because that would reduce everything to, well, we just changed history again. So nothing happened. But no one but hey, we just solved slavery in the last 2 minutes. Social change, yay. Like, that's not an effective story. You'd be pissing off a lot of people, and I don't know who that story would be for outside of John, who's saying, well, you have a time machine, use it properly for something.
It sounds like history on the civil war with slaves and everything, where they all just stop fighting because they get distracted by a shiny thing.
Right.
Who would want to sit through that?
And I love that this is like, he's like, as we know, the world itself is not a paradise, I guess, because one guy got killed by police. Because he look at what he hard cut to.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Somebody overdosed while getting kneeled on by a cop, and that means the world is fundamentally broken.
Didn't that guy didn't he do something horrible to a pregnant woman?
He put a knife to her.
Yes, but that's not. It's not relevant to the circumstances of how he died.
Nope.
All right,
but
it did happen.
It's how he lived, is it? Anyway.
And it's a little bit ridiculous that he was essentially treated like a saint. He was buried like a saint in a golden casket.
Buried like a saint when he just.
I think he may have literally had a golden casket.
He got ascended to sainthood. I think that's like one of the greatest honors you could have in the modern world.
Oh dear. Anyway, I gotta read some super chats. I'm behind. Sorry about that, Vladimir. Here's the first from Vlad. Remember the Futurama episode where a dude goes back in time to become president but ends up changing nothing? I'm trying to remember. I can't. Anyway, second one. Does he want injustice? Justice, Gods Among Us? Is that
kind of seemed like it?
Yes, he was Among Us.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly. it's hard to say.
The entire story of Gods Among Us is Superman going, "Oh, these bastards! I keep working for them, but they are never happy. It's never good enough. All right, let's try the Nazism. Let's try and kill them. Let's just kill anyone."
Let's change things. Let's change everything from the ground up. That's the premise of Injustice.
When the kid tries to object, going, "Hey, maybe this is not. Maybe you shouldn't do that." He goes, "All right, you wanna assist? All right, come here, motherfucker. Let me fucking burn you." And he kills the kid over it. Gods Among Us is such a shit show.
All right, yeah, that's probably the worst thing to do to heroes, to turn them evil or to turn them in the opposite what they are. Vladimir Dragunov, the last one. Thanks for the 10. Fun story about prohibition. To prove that it was pointless, a Republican politician started drinking out in the open in D.C. He asked a passing cop if he would like to arrest him, and the cop said no. Huh. I'd like to get a little more background and information on that little anecdote, but thank you, sir, for that story. Okay, we're at 8.5 minutes. A few more minutes, guys.
Well, we were trying to make it to 10, right?
I know.
Do you think Wisp's gonna come back?
No. No more tea, no more coffee.
I mean, it's, what, 2 in the morning?
Yeah, forget about it. You never know with Wisp, but I doubt it. Anyway.
With exploitation and depression. Not to mention impending ecological collapse.
Right. That's been impending for the last 80 years.
Our current reality is at least as scary as anything a supervillain could conjure up.
Really?
Yeah, man. Sometimes cops push people onto the ground. This is just like blowing up the entire city of New York.
It's just like a hurricane, right?
It's just like the hurricanes in Florida.
Sometimes
Florida
they just put the wind on your neck.
has bad hurricanes every now and then that cause property damage. It's exactly the same as gas attacks.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same as an alien invasion.
Yeah, exactly.
They always did say hurricanes take the breath out of you.
Jesus. Mike
on a roll today.
Just like randomly just comes with the one-liners, goes back to sleep.
It's like, does he not hear himself?
No, because he's a socialist.
Do you not hear yourself? Yeah, okay. The world we live in is just at least as bad as anything a supervillain could come up with, because as you show footage of a Florida hurricane, impending climate collapse. Yeah, we've been hearing about, we were 20 years away from it being too late 60 years ago.
We were supposed to be underwater by the fucking 2000s, for Christ's sake. Still here.
Every prediction has been wrong.
Anyway, if he wants to compare a tornado to some Marvel villain, I'm like, I mean, you got Storm who could just reverse it, but okay, fine. Let's do that.
No, that would be reactionary. Storm can't use her powers to stop horrible inclement weather.
I keep coming back to Dormammu, but it really just highlights, because he had the balls to highlight Doctor Strange as being like a villain for not using his
time gem, yeah,
like gifts to abuse the laws of nature, whilst in the same movie torturing Dormammu till he gave up on consuming the world. Like, would you rather deal with a Florida hurricane or being dead and everyone else on the planet being dead?
All right, let's go.
Now, the MCU is of course fictional, but it's also designed as a mirror of the real world, complete with all of our problems, except with super beings and aliens and wizards all thrown in the mix.
Androids, aliens, and wizards.
That's not a thing.
That's definitely a thing.
No, it's not.
Just imagine what these super beings could accomplish if they applied their immense power to creating a better.
They could do things like create free renewable energy.
I was gonna say at least one of them does. You're showing them right here.
if he's trying to make the argument, why don't they tell a peaceful story where everyone's awesome and we have awesome technology and everyone's happy? It's like they do that. It's the premise for a story where things go bad.
I'm just like, John, maybe the reason why Tony wasn't able to like actually implement this shit worldwide is because, I don't know, he's dead.
Well, there's stories of aliens like this. Was it the Shi'ar Empire where something happens and goes bad and they have to escape and run away? Like there's all kinds of stories of trouble in paradise. You can't just tell a story about paradise. It doesn't work. It's boring.
The best argument he can make is that there's not enough world building to imply that there is effects in the world from these various events that have happened, which my counter would be, this is a massive film franchise. The writers are barely able to keep up with how characters work and how characters are characterized, let alone the world building itself.
Yeah,
such as how like renewable energy might affect how Berlin looks like in 2042.
Yeah, I seem to recall the reviews for the second, was it Black Panther film, weren't too hot. And all the characters there were all interchangeably female, black, and amazing. And they all had suits on or whatever, and they were all fighting and doing the same. It's like, yeah, you have to give characters some, I don't know, individuality. They can't just be interchangeable. You have to have them have a conflict they're all striving against or striving for or whatever the issue might be. If you have an ensemble cast that are all interchangeable, you're not going to be able to see where the personality lies and where it ends. It's just all the same. And one character is as good as another. If one dies, who cares? There's always someone else to replace them.
It was actually impressive to see how Wakanda Forever made you wish that you were watching Black Panther. Like, it's actually insane just how far we've fallen.
Yeah.
At least within Marvel.
And I haven't even seen it, but the reviews are like, yeah, this is nothing special. There's nothing good about this.
They have to retcon the location of Wakanda so that it's next to the sea. Otherwise, the movie doesn't work.
Oh.
But you know who's the true villain of Wakanda Forever? Super wobbly 3D printer.
Really?
Oh,
what?
Okay, there's a 3D printer. The opening of the scene that I don't know if you guys know how 3D printers work. They're not lightsabers. It's like superheated plastic,
right?
In a pattern to form an item that you want.
Wait, they're not what?
Yeah, in the opening scene, they use what is clearly based off a 3D printer, and it's just a lightsaber fingers swiping away in random directions to form a pattern of a flower, like building the edges of the petals before the main body of the flower is done. And here I am, an actual 3D printer, like the person that does 3D printing as a hobby, losing my mind over these arms moving, like how they're not supposed to be moving. It's like a door moving without hinges.
If I can say, you want to know something funny? You say that as I'm literally playing a Star Wars game.
It hurts my mind to look at stuff like that where it's like, okay, you have millions of dollars. At least somebody could have been paid like $50 an hour to go on Google and figure out how a 3D printer works.
Yeah. Well, if Jonathan's argument is that they should be curing cancer on weekends with their technology, it's like...
Actually, that's the main point of Wakanda Forever is that it's a cancer provider.
What?
Well, not cancer provider. The 3D printer makes a biological plant that can cure cancer.
Really?
That is the main point of the opening of the scene, but by the time that it's done and she gets it, or tries to get it, to the Black Panther, he's dead.
Oh, so therefore this is the perfect movie for Jonathan McIntosh.
Yes. Which was my earlier point that he's not going to bring up Black Panther or Wakanda Forever because it completely destroys his argument.
Oh dear. Okay, here's another super chat from Vladimir. Thanks a lot, buddy. There was an episode of G.I. Joe where Cobra literally hijacked all the satellites to play their own propaganda on TV. I feel like that's slightly worse than a cop shooting someone. I would say taking over all of the satellites, and we're talking like tens of thousands in orbit. Probably bad, yeah. Unless they're like playing Mozart all day, then that would probably drive people crazy.
Yeah, it's like just the idea of not constantly having a feed from your satellites, just both in like communications, but also in like if you're trying to fly a plane.
Yeah.
And suddenly your direction is just changed into propaganda wheel. Okay, where the fuck do you go?
Yeah, if only everyone listened to Mozart at the same time on the planet, we'd all have world peace. No. Planes would crash into each other, you moron. What are you talking
Cars would explode.
If only they could listen to my supreme music. You know, it's like, no, it's not how the world works.
Also, welcome back, Wisp.
Wisp!
Hello.
You're back.
Did I miss the good part?
No, we're almost done.
There's a good part.
Anyway.
Always a good part.
We're at 9 minutes and a bit. We're going to get to 11 if we're lucky.
Yep.
They could work to end the systems that cause exploited labor and inequality.
What?
They could devote their energy to stopping pollutive industry or reversing climate
That's what
change.
Tony Stark did.
They could redistribute the wealth and resources of billionaires.
Oh,
why?
Yeah, they could become tyrants also. What a great suggestion.
Yeah, just redistribute. How is Spider-Man going to redistribute the wealth?
I would love for Spider-Man, who could barely pay his own rent, to go up to somebody like Stark and go, "Hey, give me your fucking money."
Yeah, remember?
No, wait. He doesn't even say, "Give me your money." He just walks up to the richest man in the city.
Give all your money to hobo.
Web slings to the nearest building.
This is this super basic commie babble that just appeals to the envy of simpletons.
Yeah, why doesn't Francis Xavier
Tony
brainwash
Stark.
everyone?
Yeah, for example. But Tony Stark uses his money to actually move technology further so that it actually moves there. But what insane, simple-minded communists like McIntosh want is just hand us all over your money so that we can give it to drug addicts who then will burn it instantly and overdose.
Yeah, why can't, I said before, why can't Xavier just go around brainwashing all the rich people to give their money away? Because, as we all know, if we just throw enough money at every situation, it just solves everything. That's why the world is perfect right now. Because if we just throw trillions of dollars at a problem, it just goes away. Obviously, that's what happened in Gotham, right? They have tons of money, just pour money all over the place, and problems just go away real easy.
Yeah, do you remember how amazing Black Lives Matter redistributed the wealth they were donated?
Into large mansions and luxury cars.
For a few people. The greater good, the many for the few.
Yeah, this is the argument that if everyone became Catwoman, you'd be stealing from the rich all the time. Everyone would be happy. You'd live a life of leisure, and you'd be poor, but everyone else would be happy or something nonsense.
Wouldn't Kingpin be a victim in this theoretical timeline? Wouldn't Spider-Man then be trying to rob him?
Everyone would be everyone would be a robber.
Self-defense?
Yeah, everyone would be fighting each other for resources and riches and whatever. And
is McIntosh redistributing his wealth?
That's a good question.
They say these things like this is a solution. Like, how do you do that, dude? How does it work?
This is not. We know that this does not solve the problems of the people.
It's like saying I'm going to solve hunger by planting golden rice. There's a certain kind of rice that's really resilient to growth, or it could grow in almost any climate. It's like, okay, that is a potential solution for humanity. You could argue that that's a simple thing. People are hungry. Here's a crop that grows easily. Great, simple.
Smart. No, smart. The money that was used in order to research creating that rice should have instead just given to the poor, and then we wouldn't have the rice.
They would just eat hot dogs.
That actually feeds tons of people.
They would go to New York and eat street meats, and they'd be fine.
Yeah, for like 3 days, and then we went any closer to solving world hunger. And technically, world hunger is solved. It's just not. The food is just not everywhere where it's needed.
I don't mind his premise. I just don't think he's thought past 2 seconds of what he actually wants. because you can make a story out of a Robin Hood comes around the entire planet, steals everything from all the rich, and throws it all to the poor of every country. You could tell a story like that. That's fine. But does he understand how that works logistically, practically, socially, like all the elements? And go ahead.
I'm just baffled. Sorry, Smart. I'm just really baffled because is it Batman that Begins that's like the first of the trilogy of Nolan's trilogy?
Yes, that's the
yeah.
beginning.
So have you guys watched Batman Begins recently?
No.
No.
In that whole movie, the whole point of Ra's al Ghul's plot is that he thinks that Gotham is one of the cities that's gotta burn. It's his time to shine. It's gotta come out the other side like a phoenix from the ashes.
Right.
Or, just stay dead. But a certain guy just couldn't help himself. Just kept pumping money into the system, keep it on life support. And when he died, everyone reformed for a little bit. And that just won't do. With the point of it being Bruce's dad, who almost bankrupted the entire company to keep the city that he loved on life support.
Mm-hmm.
That movie has a more nuanced view on how economies work.
Yeah, because you have to make the economy work. And the thing with socialists is that they never think about building an economy that actually sustains the social programs they dream about having. They just install the social programs, and then the money runs out. And then they think, oh, but it's fiat money that we have now, fiat currency. So let's just print more. Oh, where's this inflation coming from? We have no idea.
Yeah.
Let's just print more money to battle the inflation. And that is what happened in Weimar Germany, by the way.
Okay, so the issue is that he wants these utopian scenarios, or I presume something like Tony Stark to start handing out arc reactors, and everyone's happy. If he were to tell that story, like we saw with Wakanda Forever, like you distributing cancer drugs, which is amazing, you can't just have it be about that. There has to be a conflict. There has to be a problem, a breakdown, someone stealing something, someone's trying to usurp something. That's what's going to happen anyway. So even if we got these Robin Hood style redistribution of wealth, that can't just be the story. There's got to be more to it. So,
and that's what happens in Wakanda Forever. That's why I told you guys he wouldn't bring it up.
Yeah. So he's gotta think past 2 seconds is all I want. So these stories can work. I'm not saying they're good, but they can still work. But you have to allow your utopian concepts to fall down so you could tell a story. It doesn't work any other. You cannot tell a story about utopia. It doesn't work. You cannot tell a story about a guy happy. You can tell a short story. You can tell a short story.
You cannot tell a story about a guy that's happy. Okay, Smudge.
You can't, honestly.
Maybe it's time for you to lie down.
You can't. I've seen short stories where we've written them in class, where good stuff happens, the story, and it lasts 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's short, 2-3 pages, and you're like, what's the point of this? There's no conflict.
You could write a story about someone being happy. You just wouldn't like him as the main character.
Well,
isn't that more a thing for poems?
Well, no.
Where you describe a sublime feeling.
Well, no, that's a poetic method of emotion and explaining that in a stanza or whatever dialogue.
Yeah, but I mean that's where that's more fitting, because writing a story full of that is.
You can write long poems that are story-like for sure, yeah, but that's the point of that would be emotional. Like that would be the focus of the narrative, which would be a poetic style, which would be just a positive feel. Like there's a famous Canadian poem called High Flight. It's a story of a famous airfighter pilot.
Sorry.
And he tells a story of what it's like to fly. And it's 1-page poem, very beautiful, but it's emotional. If you want to tell a narrative, you cannot be, I am happy and I do things that make me happy, unless in order to get to that state of happiness, you have to be sad. And I've never...
Also, like Tim McMorris, I believe his name was, who wrote Life is Beautiful, where the whole point is striving for that great day.
There is a struggle of some kind, even if it's in memory or in passing or in like an old woman sitting on the bench and she looks back at her life for like 2 seconds and she remembers the horror she had to go through to get where she was and her family and all that jazz. And then at the end, she's like, you know what? It was worth it. It was good. I'm happy now. But the story is not just I'm happy, the end. It's, oh, geez, I went through hell. I went through war. I went through whatever. Boom. Oh, there was a conflict of some kind. And then you can get to wherever you want to go. So he's fine, theoretically, of telling a story about whatever social concept he wants, but he hasn't thought it through for more than a few seconds to say, oh, wait, it's going to come crashing down. I have to, plan that out. Because once he plans that out, he goes, oh, this is Wakanda forever. Or, oh, this is just going to be, another people are struggling to survive scenario with a big explosion because the energy wasn't free and clean or whatever. So that's the point I want to make is he's not thinking like a writer and asking for writing that he doesn't understand, even if the concepts are obvious.
He's not thinking like a human being.
I don't want to, he does a good enough job showcasing his lack of humanity. I don't have to do that for him. So anyway, minute and a half left. We get to 11 minutes. Okay, let's go.
But our heroes don't do any of that. Instead, the superheroes engage in random acts of benevolence. A billionaire gifts the world with some fancy new proprietary technology,
which solves environmentalist problems.
So
that you were complaining about.
He's enacting social change.
It's like that. He just hates the heroes for not becoming tyrants and abusing their power. That's what it feels like. Like, why don't they just storm into everyone's banks and then steal all the money and redistribute wealth? Why don't they do that? How come they don't do that? This is like, how dare they not become tyrants that take over the world and issue out his view of the world? Why not?
How come it's even worse?
How come they don't just force socialism with the strong arm? Might, right is might, or whatever it is. Like the one where it's like the strongest will make the law.
Yeah,
all right,
this is even worse. This is even worse than that, because he wants certain things that he's named, like environmental issues, whatever. But when they are proposed, when they actually are done, and here he's referencing that, it doesn't count.
Well,
so the stuff that he wants is actually done, but it doesn't count.
Yeah, just imagine he was talking about like some classic religion, like Judaism or something, and why doesn't Tony Stark start professing the glory of Allah? Like, why isn't there enough spirituality?
Why would you go there? Why would
just think about it, because he's got some ideology, right? Clearly, John has some agenda here, and he's not getting what he wants. It's like, dude, well, why don't you just flip it on its, like, try a different ideology? Would it still make as much sense, John? Like, do you think about that? If you believe in, I don't know, underwater
it's not the utopia he wants.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, dude, like, what flavor of ideology do you need to work here?
I'm very glad that he highlighted earlier the breathing campaign. Let's go with that, with the Saint.
Okay.
And then that is fixed canonically in the Marvel Universe. That has been fixed whenever Tony Stark is around, because if you remember in Age of Ultron, in the opening of the movie, where they are trying to destroy this terrorist cell, there is a big civil unrest, where he deploys the robots to take care of these bystanders so they don't get hurt, where they're throwing rocks and bottles at him and ripping the robots apart, and he just keeps saying, please stand back, don't get hurt, don't get hurt. Whereas was that actual police officer, they would fight back if you try to rip their heads off or beat them to death, whilst the robots just take it, whilst the heroes go and do their thing.
Yeah.
Meaning police violence, not necessary around Tony Stark, but I guess that isn't enough social change.
Yeah, he's missing the forest for the trees because the tree he wanted wasn't red.
It didn't come from the right source, which is also something. In order for the amazing humanity-saving and progress-bringing gift to be acceptable, it has to be the right thing, coming from the right person, which is someone pro-ideology, and there's a third element that it just slipped. Has to be the right person, has to be the right thing. Oh, and it has to be the right intent. Because if it's not the right intent, it also doesn't count.
So because Tony might be egotistical, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, and this is the same reason why the socialists forgive all the criminals, because they assume they didn't intend any harm. And if you don't, this is narcissistic thinking. If you don't intend any harm, well, you're not responsible for the harm you caused because you didn't intend it. So you don't need to apologize.
I thought,
and so they think that criminals, well, they're just misguided. They had bad pasts, so they didn't really intend to harm anyone. It's just a product of society and their past, so they shouldn't be punished. And that's why those types got the leading positions in the gulags, while the people who criticized the socialism, the government, the system, those were thought criminals, and they were the worst of the worst because they made their crimes were deliberate.
So they should be reprocessed in the gulags. I thought they just killed them off, but I guess that's one way of looking at it. They're criminals.
Oh no, those people who were good people whose only crime was not liking the socialist government, they were treated the worst in the gulags.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we could stop because this is enough for me to understand his position, but we could keep going to 11 minutes if you guys want to. That's okay.
I was good at 8:30, so.
Well, yeah, 11. Yeah. Well, 11 is halfway. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with the halfway point.
Okay, let's go.
Stark Tower is about to become a beacon of self-sustaining clean energy.
A soldier asks nicely that corrupt bureaucrats just do better.
You've got to do better, Senator.
Isn't that what you want to do?
I mean, so he's fighting for social what is he supposed to do himself?
I mean, the whole term "do better" is such a fucking empty statement.
That was really celebrated by the writers. Like, oh look, we're doing such a good job. We're telling him to do better. It was so bad. Even McIntosh is like, wow, that was terrible.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to figure out is what is his alternative? What is Falcon supposed to do in that situation?
The writers certainly didn't know.
I was like, how about keep
is he supposed to? Is he supposed to take over the organization?
Yeah, but it's as it is always with that slogan, and it's a slogan they just use. It's deliberately empty, so that it's put on you to come up with what to do. It's a guilt trip. It's a guilt trip, and that's why the same way it keeps coming up in God of War Ragnarok, because it's there at least half a dozen, if not a dozen times. And it's always completely vapid, and it's one of these themes of the game. It's actually a line that's going through. The line comes up again and again and again because that game is full of this stuff. It's just not directly in your face. It's more of the subtle kind. But it's the entire game.
It's pretentious.
I was going to make the joke between Kratos, where after 10 years of suffering and 10 years of endless nightmares, he casts himself off the highest mountain. But if it's Falcon, he'll just fly away. So.
He never hit that water because he can't.
And he gets
swim.
10 years of raising a brat from a woman who manipulated him into fighting her war for her, just like Athena did.
Thor,
somehow he doesn't see through that.
Yeah, it's so ironic.
None of these normie idiots see through that.
When Kratos tells Thor to be better, and then Thor dies minutes after, it's like, oh.
I like the Black Sun's immediate comments. I left the solar system, came back, and you only progressed 3 minutes. Yeah, sorry, time distortion, okay?
Oh no! You see, Falcon just comes in. You gotta do better, Senator. And then he lifts him up in the air and he drops him to the ground. Declares himself, "I am the new senator. I will do all the better."
That's the guy. That's the same guy who, in the first episode, complained about the bankers, which are Jews in the episode. That we don't deal with those white folks. It's a completely racist line. just right there in your face, and it's about the bankers.
That show just comes off as schizophrenia personified, because nothing really has a resolution. That whole "you gotta do better, Senator" comes off as a platitude, because the entire ending comes off as a platitude of, well, we are crossing our fingers for season 2 because we didn't really get a chance to flesh out the Flag Smashers or the new Captain America or the Winter Soldier, honestly.
Or Battlestar before he got fucking smushed into the wall.
Man, the one guy in the show who could speak fluent German, unlike the Germans they had, the alleged Germans they had, they couldn't,
and they killed him off.
Yeah, the Black Americans spoke almost natural German when nobody else did. In Munich of all places.
That's why they killed him. They mistook him.
He knows the language.
But what I think McIntosh, there's a big irony here, because what McIntosh is doing is he's complaining that the Marvel shows and movies that were produced after the complete infestation and takeover of the ideology, that are spouting the propaganda that he wants, are not bringing any solutions, any socialist solutions to how to enact those things. So he's complaining that the propaganda that's made is not good enough.
All right.
It's amazing.
Okay, we got 1 minute left. I still think we're going to have like 5 stops as we get from 10 to 11, but you know, that's just how these videos go.
Somebody reached one side of the Milky Way galaxy to the other side and reached 3 minutes. Yeah, probably at least 7 stops.
All right, here we go.
A wealthy monarch builds an international network of community centers.
This will be the first Wakanda International Outreach Center.
These band-aid approaches may help a few disenfranchised individuals here and there, but they're also designed to keep the current economic and political structures firmly in place.
Okay, so
are they designed for that? Are they?
So he admits that there are showcases of the universe being built, and he says that, they haven't changed enough. Holy shit, you were right, Whisp. It's never enough. Fuck me.
That's what I'm saying. And it's always everything that might be actually good, that might be objectively good. There's always some sinister twist on how it's bad after all. So shouldn't it be done? So shouldn't he build this community centers? And you would be complaining that he's doing nothing at all.
If you build a community center, you're supporting white supremacy that's in power. If you don't build the community center, you're not doing anything, thus promoting white supremacy in power. Fuck.
And while it is a community center specifically for black people, to help them get out of poverty.
Have we reached full McIntosh? Can we say we reached full McIntosh?
We're half McIntosh.
That's amazing.
He could have said, "This is a good start," and left it there and said, "This is I don't know what they could have done next, but this is a good start." And be like, "Yeah, you're right. It is a good start."
No, it's not. You need radical change. You need absolute chaos so that you can get absolute revolution. And then you have the socialist utopia immediately, and then everyone will be saved, except the 300 million people who die from the change.
If he gave us a baseline for like step 1 and then a baseline for step 2, and be like, now we know where we're going. He could have said Tony Stark's step 1 would have been the arc reactors. Wakanda could have been the outreach part. It doesn't matter what it was. He just says this is good enough for Hero 1. This is good enough for Hero 2, and they didn't do this with Hero 3. Whatever the Black Widow should teach rifling. I don't care. Whatever.
Of course, that would be sane, but he cannot do that because then he would be held accountable for that example. Because he complains that those shows are not giving any, he will not give any either. Yeah. He's mucking about every great example for not being good, for not being right, then he sullies them, and he cannot give any advice on how to get closer to social change, to it himself. All he's saying is do better.
And that is
more words.
if I don't know any better because I didn't watch the film. This is right at the end of Black Widow. It's a denouement. It's just this thing that happens after the fact. Like, hey, after we resolve the main conflict, we have to do some stuff for our country, and this is one of our things. We're no longer isolationist. We're now connecting with the people of the world. This is how we do it.
I like that you keep calling it Black Widow.
Is it? Sorry, it's Black Panther. My brain was.
It's at the very end of the film where they claim that they want to open up more.
Yeah, I think.
I wouldn't call her Black.
No changes in Africa.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't call her Black Widow. I'd more call her Concussion.
The spider concussion lady. Okay.
Yeah. She is kind of scatterbrained, if you catch my drift.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, 40 seconds. Here we go.
The uncomfortable truth is, charitable or philanthropic endeavors rarely, if ever, threaten the entrenched positions of the rich and powerful in any meaningful way.
Neither does socialism.
Seen in that light, the fact that our superheroes could use their incredible powers to change the world for the better.
Why would they do that?
Choose not to.
How would they do that?
Why would they? Why is
the
the assumption there that the heroes need to go attack the rich? That the rich people are not bad guys just because they're rich.
Yeah, and how? How does Thor change the world with his powers?
Can you imagine Thor coming into planet saying, "Hey, I'm a god. Listen to me. We're gonna all have Asgardian way of life, or you'll die." It's like, what?
Why did Fidel Castro not use his vast amount of wealth to help the Cuban people? Why did Hugo Chavez eat a sandwich he took out of the drawer of his desk and on live television while his people were starving? What is it with socialism and actually just enriching itself and making the people poorer? Could it be, Mr. McIntosh, that what you're advocating for is a scam?
I'm just trying to imagine, would it be better? Let's go with the extreme. Let's go with here's a kill. Like, go for the throat every time. Would it have been better had they tried to do real change by completely destroying the flag smashers, by just killing every single one of them that they find, rather than beating them up? Would that satisfy McIntosh?
Yeah, he'd have to actually have some radical theory, or, hey, we need to kill all the bad guys. Why aren't the heroes doing that? This is the same argument with the Gods Among Us. It's like, oh yeah, why don't the Justice League just start killing everyone?
And in that story, you see why. Because the moment they do, Superman immediately instigates the Superman loyalists, which are glorified Nazis.
The flag smasher thing is just so absolutely insane. Because you can see the people Thanos snap. You can see them because we can return them to life. We can see them as being locked up for 5 years in a death camp. Then they were saved. They were released. They were saved by the Allies. So they want to return home to their houses, to their apartments. But there's these flag smashers squatting, and they complain. That's their literal complaint. That
I know, that's what drives me so wild.
Alive again. The people who are alive again, they want to get back into the places that the flag smashers have just started to occupy.
Yeah. That's what gets me about people who act like the flag smashers are the good guys in that scenario, who are only vilified because they kill people, or like they're made to murder people so that people know that the audience knows they're the bad guys. No, they are bad. What they want is bad. Their fundamental motivation is a bad thing. They want to displace the people who own the homes that they are occupying just because, they're upset that people want their stuff back after they were dead for several years.
It's worse. The Flag Smasher wish is that the people would be dead again. Their wish is to undo the undoing of the snap.
Yeah, they want billions of dead people because, oh, boo-hoo, we don't get to keep the stuff that we took. We don't get to keep squatting.
Yeah, but what if the snap works off RNG and the Flag Smashers are the ones that get snapped away? What then?
That doesn't matter. That you're thinking too far.
Okay.
Oh, I'm thinking more than the writers of these crap movies.
Anyway,
okay.
Guys, we're almost done. Jonathan clearly has not thought 2 steps beyond what he wants, sadly.
I know. This is another thing that always gets me about that take where it's like, oh, I hate it when they make the villain right, but then make them kill people to make them so that the audience knows they're the villain. It's like, you understand revolutionaries in real life.
Yeah, that's what this is about. This is agitation and propaganda. What McIntosh is doing. That's all this is. It's agitation and propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever read about the French Revolution? Right? Even if you support the French revolutionaries' motive to take down the monarchy, what they did was really terrible. They did a lot of really awful stuff.
It's why it was called the Reign of Terror. Literally.
Yeah. Revolutionaries in our world do lots of bad things, even if they had good motivations. And you have to start from the premise. I'm even being gracious and starting from the premise that their motivations are good.
Yeah, and
I think left-wing revolutionaries have bad motivations and bad actions. But I'm granting good motivations.
And Jonathan,
your actions can still be bad. You can still do bad things in the name of a good cause.
Yeah, and Jonathan wants to see a story of a revolutionary doing these horrific things in the name of some ideal that he believes in, because rich are bad, or black people are a minority, or whatever the issue might be to him. And he can't admit to that. He can't say directly what he wants. Then you realize, are you nuts? You want people to get killed on screen because you think the Chinese are a minority and they got to rise up against their white slavers or some nonsense from reparations that never happened in the 40s? Like, what are you talking about? Like, he has to actually say that, but he won't. Because then he'll...
his favorite scene in Batman must have been this deliberately comical Adam West style scene in the Bane movie where all the criminals are out and ripping off the pearl necklaces of the rich people and taking their purses, which were suddenly so many rich people on the streets of Gotham City, and all these criminals, the followers of Bane, were just all having a target right that moment. It was a comical scene. But that's what he wants. This absolutely over the top, exaggerated thing, because that's the redistribution of wealth that he advocates for. That's not the one that's going to actually happen. The one that's actually going to happen is the redistribution from bottom to top, as it is as they complain about it is allegedly happening in capitalism all the time and exclusively. Because when you look at what socialism advocates, not what it advocates for, what socialism complains about capitalism is the exact stuff that socialism does once it is in power. It's complete projection. Every single thing that it complains about happens once they have power. It's absolutely insane. And people are starting to catch up to that. Especially the more they learn about narcissism, which also seems to be happening right now, as this social justice movement operates like the organized personality disorder.
Okay.
And Yeah, I know it's a tangent, but that's basically that. It's socialism is organized narcissism.
All right, so we got 10 more minutes before we hit the 3-hour mark. Yep. So we have 20 seconds left in the video for halfway,
and then memes,
super chats, and then memes. Here we go.
Yeah.
Feel downright dystopian.
Only if you start from the premise that we are a dystopia.
So it's curious that the only characters who voice any kind of systemic critique are the bad guys.
What is this?
Those people, Pete, those people up there, the rich and the powerful, they do whatever they want. Guys like us, we build their roads and we fight all their wars and everything. They don't care about us. We have to pick up after them. We have to eat their table scraps.
When we take
that scene takes place after he's killed one of his co-workers with a laser, by the way. Like the co-worker's like, okay, maybe you shouldn't fiddle with alien technology. What, are you scared of it or something? Look, even if it's just a green pointy end, right? Long as nothing comes out, shoots
and also
kills him.
And also, this guy's from Damage Control. Anyone want to remind me who created Damage Control?
I don't know.
Dwayne McDuffie.
Look, it's just another necessary sacrifice for the greater good.
All right. We're going to pause it here, guys. Thanks for tonight. Thanks for all tuning in.
Screw the greater good. I want to live.
Okay. Thank you.
That's so selfish of you.
Thank you, Gigaman. I'm going to read some...
Yes, it is.
Super chats. We'll get to memes, and then we'll call it a night. It's been almost 3 hours. Thanks for everyone tuning in and listening to this wonderful, wonderful YouTuber that we always enjoy watching, I think. So here we go. Vladimir. Robin Hood himself was a nobleman who was combating unfair taxes from an illegitimate ruler. Ooh, good point. Yes.
In the real basis of the myth, he's just keeping it for himself. He's not giving it to the people.
Okay, here's Legacy again. Dang, Smud, I thought your agenda was being happy. Well, I think happiness could be a result of mental health. My agenda is mental health. When you're talking about stories, fictional stories can't be happy. If you're talking about real stories like what you did on the weekend, that's totally fine, obviously. So, but it's always more interesting if something bad happens. Anyway, Vladimir Dragunov, thanks for the last one. My country's founding fathers are terrorists in any other point of view. Good point. They're the revolutionaries, but they started life in a new land, and they had to knock a few heads in at least to get that land. So
that's some good philosophy at the very least.
Yeah. They wrote some good documents too. Okay, let's get to stream memes. I don't know how many guys you made, but we'll find out.
Starting with Legacy.
Legacy? Oh no. Let's see what he did. Okay. The MCU and its consequences have been a disaster on the Marvel Universe.
Empower? Really?
Can someone remind me what Empower is?
No.
It's about empowering women.
It's
about feminism.
No. It's just a documentary where they just talk about themselves.
Wait, really?
Is it okay? Hold on. Is this the new Empower, or are we talking about
documentary where a bunch of unintelligent women describe how good they are?
It's like the thing.
Not the old Empower. Oh no, that was Empowered. That's right.
Oh, that's Empower
web comic.
These clearly literal.
But Marvel, like empowering these female characters is like it's always been retarded because they if you actually look at the comics, they don't need it.
So here's the Incredibles scene I think you guys are referencing. You didn't save my life, you ruined my death, about the guy who wanted to commit suicide. So, which is...
I just think it's like, since the guy didn't complain immediately when he got saved, it's like he's saying that because the lawyer, because money.
Well, it comes to the
point is rather that he didn't just kill himself anyway, proves that he didn't actually want to die.
Why didn't you just do it again later?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you were actually suicidal, you'd do it.
Yeah, so the concept that the heroes in Jonathan's video aren't doing enough, it's like, this is Jonathan complaining. Sonic says, oh boy.
No, that's it.
That's enough for me. Kyogres's hideout.
For fuck's sake.
Superheroes are supposed to be reactionary! 3. If they were not reactionary, we get Injustice Superman.
No, that's excuse you, that's Injustice Bizarro.
Oh, really?
No, it's not. It's
the
just
S is backwards.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not just flipped because the GIF is flipped? But okay.
The picture is mirrored. But
yeah, that's the joke, Smud.
Har.
What is Injustice Bizarro like a hero? Is that what it is?
Oh, really? That's cool.
I
don't know. I don't think Bizarro appears in Injustice.
He's in Injustice 2 as a premier skin.
Cool.
He's there as a skin. He's not there as a character.
Here's Legacy. Sorry if this reads out wonky and leftist. I want to make fun of this stupid villain praise with these people. Okay, here we go. Oh my God, the evolutionary is advocating for climate and environmental changes. He's a good progressive. And look, I want to wipe out all life on Earth currently because I want to rid of your pointless wars, ideologues, and discriminatory drivel. Wow. That's an interesting reason for wiping out life because you're so annoying. You talk too much. Thank you, Mark, for the GIF that was on everyone's minds this entire time.
No, we
remember when he started.
Didn't go full McIntosh. We didn't finish the video.
Remember when he started, or he stopped using Anita as a mouthpiece because he said he thought people would take him more seriously if it was a man talking, and he got more criticism afterwards.
I just added that to the description.
I thought she dumped him.
She did, but I think they worked together for a little bit after that. But if I recall, his assumption was that he would be taken more seriously if he was the one who openly was doing the talking because he was a man, and no, it didn't work out that way.
I was going to say,
no, when you say dumb crap, people don't really care. It probably got more backlash, honestly. I mean, despite the psyop, people tend to go gentler on women than they do on men. So,
yeah, it's literally that he really believes what he's spouting. What the ideology is spouting, the sexist stuff.
All right, here's a self-insert for a meme with LitDev. This is interesting. So Marvel is hella. You can't defeat me. I know, but he can, and it's, of course, Legacy. I just want to write stories people will enjoy with the older virtues of Marvel. Stay out of my fire pit. And he's, of course, Ragnarok.
That's just comics again in a nutshell.
Ha ha. Oh no, it's anime time. Elon Musk. I'm actually cat girl. Here's selfie RN. Okay.
What the?
Right now.
Did he actually do that in 2018? Probably not.
No.
I'm okay. Elon Musk explaining why. What am I doing? Why is it anime? Elon Musk unveils.
It is Anime Day.
I know, but guys,
you started the whole Elon Musk, but 5 Elon Musk thing. You did this to yourself.
Yeah, I know, but we're doing a video on something completely different. Anyway, Elon Musk unveils his latest invention: genetically engineered cat girls in 2018. Thank you, Elon. And Elon Musk diversifies into genetically engineered cat girls.
Be careful, he's a hero.
Elon Musk explaining why genetically engineered cat girls are beneficial to society and members of the board of Tesla and other investors.
More like literally everyone else.
Genetically engineered cat girls are
how
possible.
how many cat girls has McIntosh given to anybody? Okay.
Oh.
That's good.
I guess it's 0 because it's sexist.
Can't blame a guy for not being able to launch rockets. Can't also.
Well, if it's only funding that's been lacking, that is a solvable problem.
Okay.
That brings society forward.
Yeah,
Progress.
Yeah, death is just a matter of resources, guys. You could easily overcome death. You just need the right resources. There you go. Thanks, BioWare. Hulk, according to McIntosh. Oh no, do I have to read this? I'd like to read it, but it's a little too tiny for my very old eyeballs. Can anyone read that?
No.
Which one?
There's
the one with Bullseye.
Yeah.
All right, let me see that one.
It's really tiny.
Oh, let me do.
All right.
Pull it
It's Bullseye. Do what I say and nobody gets hurt. Much. And then Hulk immediately shows up and goes, "Pay taxes." Okay, I will. Huh? The fight show went down. I'll be quick. Hulk says, "Pay taxes." I pay taxes.
Oh fuck!
That's a comic book. I guess
I believe it.
I guess Hulk is dumb enough to fall for it, but I mean,
And I'm pretty sure that is Bruce Banner, so it's at least that's at least from years ago. It has to be Bruce Banner.
Is there a theft tax? I don't.
Maybe that's the one he's talking about.
I mean, taxes are theft anyway, so I guess it's redundant.
I mean, technically, there are. I think it's listed as extra income, and you have to put that on your tax form. And if you don't, it counts as tax evasion. So either way, you're fucked. So either they get you for the theft, and if they get you for the theft, they also get you for tax evasion because you didn't declare it.
Therefore, you have to return the money to the bank.
No, you get more years.
That too.
Wow, this is an interesting.
You need to file. You need to file your 1099-L.
Lol, what,
report your larceny income.
What is this? This is a supervillain, or what is that?
Oh, you down at the ideal world?
I see a guy with wings, and he's got a helmet on.
Oh, Vulture. Oh, that's Vulture.
That's Vulture.
That's Vulture.
Really?
Yes, that's Vulture.
That's
the guy
a version of Vulture.
Yeah, I've never.
It's us that build the roads, man. Yeah, that's him.
Ah, that version. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And here we are, McIntosh's ideal world. Oh.
Oh, hey, the Twin Towers are back.
Yeah, not for long.
Oh.
What am I
Why
seeing?
is Dormammu in the corner?
Because he's about to eat this fucking world.
Oh, I get it. I couldn't tell what that picture was in the corner.
Sorry,
I
Nato,
was
that's
Dormammu.
like the only image we have of Dormammu.
A lot going on in that image there, Lal. I have to interpret
The
that.
Twin Towers are still up. I mean, in McIntosh's ideal world, there is no New York because Whitey never showed up in the in America.
Wait, but there's a Whitey on the image there.
I was gonna say, speaking of Dormammu, his niece is in the MCU now.
Oh boy. Anyway, guys, we've been
Dormammu's niece and Doctor Strange's wife.
We've been going on for over 3 hours.
Oh.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We appreciate it, and of course, that huge super chat from Vlad. Very, very friendly and nice and kind. You didn't have to do that because you kept giving other super chats, but your wallet is your own business. Thank you, sir. Guys, it's been fun. I'm assuming you want to keep going tomorrow. Obviously, I won't request you all come back. It's up to you. But Jonathan McIntosh is a treat. You'd only get him once a year. So
I'm on board for part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Part 2.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks, LitDev, for your busy schedule to pop in and say hello and put up with all of us and waste our time.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Okay.
Pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully, if not the day later. If everything works out, we never know. Everything's going to change. We have no idea this week. But have yourself a great evening. We'll talk to you real soon. Good night.
Good night.
Until
Bye, everybody.
McIntosh, we've come to bargain.